Loving someone, it might not be easy, that's true. But falling in love with someone might not be that difficult either. And sometimes, the person who falls in love doesn't even realize it. Jimmy approached Hua only to use him as a stepping stone to get closer to someone else. But for some reason, he suddenly changed his mind and asked the other person out instead. Didn't I warn you not to play with someone's feelings if you weren't sure? Because the one who ends up crying like a dog abandoned by its owner will be you. His confidence and determination to win made him ignore that warning. He was so certain that no matter how cruelly he behaved or how badly he treated the other person, the one who loved more would always be the one to make peace with him, just as they had every time before. But perhaps he forgot that opportunities do not last forever. Chapter 0. If we leave each other's lives, don't ever come back, no matter what. How did I end up like this? At the point where I keep replaying the words I said to him over and over again. It's not just the words, either. The same moments keep repeating in my mind, leaving me confused. Back then, in that situation, who was really at fault? Was it my fault because he never gave me another chance? Or was it my fault for being so impulsive, with a mouth that deserved to be slapped? If I could turn back time, perhaps I would never have said the words that shattered me. If I could turn back time, I would have loved you with everything I had. Do you really think Jim loves you that much? We agreed to date without any commitments. You were always the one chasing after me first. You're the only one who loves Jim. If we break up, let's see who ends up dying. You talk as if you never loved me. If you don't have the courage to say it, then Jim will. We're breaking up. If we leave each other's lives, don't ever come back, no matter what. If we broke up, who would die? A bitter, self-mocking laugh echoed inside the car. The engine was off, the headlights were dark, and the stifling heat refused to ease, even with the driver's window cracked open. The owner of the car had no idea how long he'd been sitting there, his forehead resting against the steering wheel, completely motionless. The answer to the question of who would die after the breakup had already revealed itself many times. The one who was now barely holding himself together was none other than Jimmy. His mocking laughter faded into a long, weary sigh. Lost in his thoughts, Jimmy didn't even notice the driver's door opening. Someone climbed into the passenger seat and let out an even heavier sigh. Hey, Jim, start the car. I'm roasting. Jimmy slowly lifted his head from the steering wheel and glanced sideways, making no move to start the engine. If PTO finds out I'm here, if you keep coming here this often, he'd have to be an idiot not to know. If he knows, then why won't he come see me or talk to me? Why hasn't he tried to make up with me after all this time? I warned you, Jimmy, over and over again. Warn me about what, Teh? I don't remember. About to. Hua to my older brother. How is he? If you're hoping my brother is as miserable as you are, keep dreaming. He's doing just fine, better than when he was wasting his time chasing after someone like you. Didn't I warn you? If you're not sure about your feelings, don't play with someone else's. Because the one who ends up crying like a dog abandoned by its owner will be you. Teh, what? I wish I could turn back time. I wish I could go back to the first day I met your brother. I'd treat him better. I wouldn't say the things that led to us breaking up. Are you really that heartbroken? Teh said you'd get over him soon. He said someone like Jimmy would just find someone new. How could I ever forget him? He's the greatest love of my life. You didn't appreciate him while you had him. Ugh, I don't even want to scold you anymore. I'm exhausted. Teh turned to look at his close friend. Even though it was late, the summer night remained unbearably hot. Jimmy refused to start the car or even switch on the air conditioning. Sweating through his pajamas, Teh could only grumble under his breath before giving up. He sat there in silence, watching Jimmy bury his face in his hands and cry. Before long, Jimmy drifted into a deep sleep, exhausted and drunk. Shaking his head, Teh got out of the car, walked around to the driver's side, and hauled Jimmy out. Draping Jimmy's arm over his shoulder, he quietly helped him into the house. Without ceremony, Teh dumped his friend onto the living room sofa. The familiar scent of disinfectant lingered throughout the house. Glancing at the clock, he saw it was 3 a.m. Jimmy was still wearing his student uniform. Teh, meanwhile, was already in his pajamas. The lights throughout the house were still on. Teh adjusted Jimmy into a more comfortable position before planting his hands on his hips. Looking beyond the sofa towards the dining table, he knew exactly who had left the lights burning. The owner of the house. His older brother. Huatu. Teh let out another sigh. Did anyone understand how difficult it was to be caught in the middle? PTO, I've brought Jimmy here to sleep. As you wish. PTO, I feel sorry for my friend, but I understand you too. Isn't there really any chance for the two of you to start over? Leaving the sleeping drunk alone, Teh walked around the sofa to where Hua Ta was sitting. Hua Ta lowered his eyes to the glass of water on the table as he listened. Condensation had formed on the cold glass, tiny droplets slowly running down its sides. Without a coaster beneath it, the water spread across the polished wooden tabletop. With his slender fingers, Hua Ta quietly wiped away the droplets before lifting his gaze to his younger brother. I'm tired. I don't want to be a fool again. But Jim really loves you. He may only have realized it after you broke up, but he just said you're the greatest love of his life. Really? Yeah. My friend is a complete idiot. PTO is the greatest love of his life, but he's the worst love of yours. I won't say anything else. I love you, PTO. I'll always be on your side. You're not a child anymore. You don't have to choose sides. There's no need to stay by my side for anything. Lock the house properly. I'm going to bed. Hua Ta stopped tracing the water droplets on the table. He quietly pushed his chair back and headed upstairs. Teh watched him leave, noticing that his brother didn't spare so much as a single glance at the man sleeping on the sofa. Looking back at Jimmy, Teh ran a hand through his own hair in frustration. He pitied him, but at the same time, he couldn't help thinking Jimmy had brought this on himself. So many people had warned him, again and again, and he had refused to listen. No one can help you anymore, Jimmy. Teh walked over and locked the front door, making one last check around the house before heading upstairs to his room. As for Jimmy, he could sleep right there. But who could have predicted that only a few minutes later, in the darkened living room, someone would quietly return carrying a pillow and a blanket for the uninvited guest? There was only one person it could be. Hua Ta. Teh, instead of giving your friend a pillow and a blanket. After tucking the blanket around Jimmy and slipping the pillow beneath his head, Hua Ta sat down beside the sofa, quietly watching the sleeping man. His thoughts drifted back to the very beginning, to the day they first met. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't want us to meet at all. Chapter 1. At that time, the rain was pouring so heavily that I could barely see anything. The top student from the Faculty of Science. I don't want to say. So, do you know him or not, Teh? I said I don't want to say. Please. His slender hands came together. Calling it a pleading gesture wasn't entirely accurate. The expression on the handsome young man named Jimmy's face didn't look like someone begging. His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened, and his lips pressed into a thin line. It looked more like a threat than a plea. You're so stubborn. Why are you calling me stubborn while giving me that look, Teh? I picked it up from my brother. When is this rain ever going to stop? I want to go home. Teh looked out the window. Despite the deafening roar of the rain, it was obvious from the sheets of water against the glass that the storm wasn't ending anytime soon. It looked as though a full-blown storm had arrived. The wind was so fierce that even the large trees outside swayed violently. When Teh turned back, Jimmy was still holding up his phone, showing him a picture of Whittier's top player, while asking if he knew him. Jimmy glanced back out the window as well. We're trapped here because of the rain, but it's nothing like those romantic scenes couples always have. Jimmy spoke again. Your brother's name is Hua Ta? Yeah. Your parents really knew how to pick names. By the way, why have you been talking about your brother so much lately? My brother and I are really close. I just didn't mention him much before because we weren't living together. PTO only just came back from Australia. He's planning to stay in Thailand for good now. He's already rented a place to open a small cafe, and he's been decorating it. If you come to my house these days, the whole place smells like coffee and baked goods. Teh kept his hands on his hips as he spoke while the rain continued to pour without mercy. It had only been a few days since the second semester started, yet assignments were already piling up. The rain only made everything worse. Instead of going home and getting my work done, damn it. Come to think of it, if Plaifah is the top student in science, then my brother used to be the top student in architecture. His name is Plaifah. Yeah, I don't know much, but Pha and PTO are close. They were in the same club. When PTO was in his 5th year, Pha was probably a first-year student. Introduce me. Come on. Someone like you can introduce yourself. Teh wasn't wrong. Jimmy was undeniably handsome. As far as Teh knew, Jimmy had never lacked admirers, yet he'd never been serious about anyone. He dated people now and then, but he'd never truly liked anyone. Are you really serious about this guy? Yeah, he's ridiculously cute. I think I'm in love. The more I look at him, the more I like him. Seriously? Completely. Can you introduce me to him? I already told you, I don't know him. You can go through your brother. What? You said they're close. Why are you quiet? To be honest, I don't want PTO meeting you. Huh. Jimmy's face immediately reflected his surprise. He had never been good at hiding his emotions. After blurting out that startled sound, Teh lifted his chin, folded his arms, and looked toward the rain, which had finally begun to ease. My brother's adorable. He was the top student in architecture, and I'm not exaggerating. You really love your brother, don't you? Everyone loves my brother. Then why can't I meet him? Because you might end up liking my brother instead. You think I'm that easy? Yeah. Teh, my heart's only set on Pfa right now. I just need your brother's help to get to him. Teh didn't answer. He rolled his eyes as the rain continued to lighten, though it still showed no sign of stopping completely. While Teh hesitated, Jimmy lost his patience. He grabbed Teh by the arm and dragged him toward the exit. The rain's lighter now. Come on. Let's go to your house. You live with your brother now, right? Let's go. Jimmy, I'm driving you all the way home today. Teh was an easygoing person with plenty of friends, but none of them were as impatient as Jimmy. Jimmy practically shoved him into the car, then spent the entire drive grumbling about traffic. Teh silently prayed while Jimmy drove. By the time they reached his house, he honestly thought he might not survive. Even so, he thanked his friend for bringing him home, despite knowing Jimmy only did it because of his own ulterior motives. When they arrived, Teh asked Jimmy to park beside the wall because both his own car and his brother's were already occupying the driveway. Teh hated driving to university because of the traffic. Back when he lived in the dormitory, he drove himself every day. But after Teh returned, Teh immediately moved in with him without hesitation. Ever since they were kids, he'd always been attached to his older brother. Although Teh's house was quite far from campus, every morning Teh drove him to the BTS station. On the way home, Jimmy usually gave him a ride back to the station near the university. That was exactly why the two of them had gotten stranded in the rain today. Unfortunately, the rain still hadn't stopped, and Jimmy didn't even have an umbrella in the car. You stay here. I'll go get one from the house. You'll get soaked. It's fine. I can shower once I'm inside. You shouldn't get wet. As impatient as Jimmy was, Teh wasn't much better. The moment he finished speaking, he threw open the car door and dashed into the rain, leaving all his belongings behind. Covering his head with one hand did almost nothing. The raindrops were larger than he'd expected, and the distance to the front door felt much farther than it had looked. By the time he reached the entrance, his clothes were completely soaked. He knocked several times before the door finally opened. Standing there was someone nearly a foot shorter than he was. Gentle almond-shaped eyes, slightly messy hair, and a cream-colored apron with an adorable bear on the front. This was Huatu. Though they shared the same parents, everyone always said the two brothers looked nothing alike. I called you. I was going to ask if you wanted me to pick you up since it was raining so hard. You called. Yeah. Go take a shower and change before you catch a cold. How did you get home? A friend drove me here, but he's still waiting in the car. Can I borrow an umbrella? I'll bring him inside until the rain lets up. The lie came naturally. There was no way Teh was going to admit Jimmy had insisted on meeting Huatu so he could get closer to Plaifah. Who could stop someone who drove like a maniac? Oh, is that your friend's car? Yeah. I'll go get him. You hurry upstairs and change. You get sick so easily. Teh almost objected. Who would let little Huatu walk outside in weather like this? He'd get blown away. Then again, Huatu wasn't actually fragile. He simply moved gently and spoke softly. Maybe letting Jimmy meet Teh wasn't such a bad idea after all. It might help them become acquainted sooner. So Teh changed his answer. Please take care of him. PTO. Don't get soaked. Huatu raised an eyebrow before turning back into the house for an umbrella. Teh gave an exaggerated cry of protest and hurried upstairs. Huatu returned carrying 2 umbrellas. He opened one for himself while carrying the other as he walked toward the white Fortuner, whose engine was still running. The rain grew heavier once again. Despite the umbrella, raindrops splashed onto him. He reached the driver's side window and knocked gently while holding the spare umbrella ready so the driver wouldn't get wet when getting out. The window rolled down. The engine shut off. The driver stepped out. Huatu smiled warmly. A small dimple appeared in his right cheek, and his crescent-shaped eyes made him look years younger. You're T's friend, right? Yes. I'm T's older brother. I told him to shower first. Give me his bag. I'll carry it. His attention settled on the familiar backpack. Tay must have left it in the car, so it wouldn't get wet. Jimmy handed it over. Wada hugged it against his chest before finally looking up properly at T's friend. The smile slowly disappeared from his face. A blush spread uncontrollably across his cheeks. T's friend was about the same height as Tay. He was strikingly handsome, with an air of quiet confidence that Hua to himself completely lacked. The man's face was so captivating that Hua couldn't look away. Jimmy lifted an eyebrow under the prolonged stare. Only then did Hua realize how long he'd been staring. He let out a tiny sound and quickly lowered his eyes. His confident voice became noticeably softer. Come, let's go inside. I'll make you something warm. After saying that, the host turned around and led the way. For some reason, Hua became strangely aware of the taller man's footsteps following behind him. The sound of the rain disappeared. Even the rumble of thunder couldn't drown out those footsteps. PTO, are you and Tay really brothers? Hua glanced back with a smile. We don't look alike at all, do we? Not at all. You're tiny, PTO. T's huge, like a buffalo. Jimmy's gaze wandered around the property. The closer they got to the house, the stronger the scent of pastries became. Actually, Hua smelled like fresh pastries too. Just like Tay had said. Coffee and baked goods everywhere. You're about the same size as my brother. What's your name? They reached the covered area. Hua set his umbrella aside. Jimmy copied him. Jim? Jimmy. The house is a little messy, Jim. Tay didn't tell me he was bringing a friend, so I didn't have time to clean. I invited myself over. Sorry for the trouble. Hua simply nodded. His gaze drifted past Jimmy's shoulder toward the rain. He silently wished it would keep raining a little longer. At the shoe rack, Hua slipped off his slippers and left them lying carelessly. Jimmy removed his sneakers and placed them neatly beside them. He couldn't help noticing how small Hua's shoes were. The older man's head barely reached the corner of his eye. Fair skin, a sweet smile, that tiny dimple. A true top student. Hua looked like the kind of man countless women would fall for, and probably the kind of man other men could easily fall in love with as well. No wonder Tay was so protective. If Jimmy were Tay, he'd probably become even more possessive. Have you eaten yet? Have you had dinner? It'll be dinner time soon. If you're not in a hurry, stay and eat with us. Wait until the rain stops before you leave. All right. Sorry for imposing. Hua opened the front door. Although he'd gotten a little wet, it was only his shoulders and sleeves. He fetched towels for both of them. After drying off, they entered the living room. Hua turned on some soft music to ease the awkward silence. Perhaps he was the only one feeling nervous. He secretly glanced at Jimmy. The taller man appeared perfectly calm. Jimmy wandered around, looking at the framed photographs while drying his muscular arms with the towel. Eventually, he walked over to Hua, who quickly pretended to adjust the speaker volume. PTO, where should I put the towel? Give it to me. I'll take care of it. The house really does smell like coffee and pastries. Jimmy spoke casually. Instead of sitting in the living room, he followed Hua straight into the kitchen. The kitchen was by far the messiest room in the house. Different coffee beans sat sorted on plates. Bottles of syrup, cake molds, bags of flour. Everything was scattered around. Tay said you're opening a cafe. Yeah, I've been pretty busy lately, but it's fun. Jimmy nodded and leaned casually against the counter. He stopped following Hua around, but continued watching everything he did. Do you drink coffee, Jim? I can, but I don't really like it. Would you like to try some? At 6:30 in the evening? Oh, right. Hua laughed awkwardly. It's a bit late. Then how about some hot milk? Tay drinks that. I was going to make him some anyway. Without waiting for an answer, Hua decided for him. Since T's name was involved, Jimmy didn't object. He lowered his head slightly, the corner of his mouth lifting into a faint smile. Give me a minute to heat the milk. You can go upstairs and keep Tay company. His room has a nameplate on the door. He takes forever to shower. I'd rather stay here with PTO. Jimmy answered casually. He watched Hua warm the milk before taking out paper cups and beginning to draw on them. Curious, Jimmy tilted his head. What are you drawing? The cups. I'm drawing you and Tay so we know whose cup belongs to whom. See, I even wrote your names. Drawing Tay came naturally. His pen moved quickly, sketching an adorable cartoon version of his younger brother. Jimmy leaned closer. For some reason, he wanted to see Hua to draw him too. Does it look like Teh? Yeah, it's really cute. Stand still for a second, Jim. It'll take me a little longer since it's my first time drawing you. How should I pose? Hua laughed. The dimple in his cheek deepened. Just stand like you were before. I'll handle the rest. His pen moved swiftly. Within moments, the blank paper cup filled with lines. Jimmy watched Huatu's focused expression before pretending to look at the milk heating on the stove. It's finished. Hua handed him the cup. Jimmy smiled. The drawing showed a cartoon version of himself standing with folded arms, looking slightly arrogant in his student uniform. Only the upper body was drawn, yet every detail was there, even the tiny mole on the tip of his nose. The milk's almost boiling. Oh no, I forgot. Jimmy barely had time to admire the drawing before Hua hurried back to the stove, turned off the heat, and carefully poured the milk into both cups. At that moment, footsteps echoed from upstairs. Jimmy looked up. Teh came running halfway down the stairs. I'm here. I took the fastest shower of my life. This is fast for you. Jimmy tilted his head. Teh shrugged before walking over to Huatu. Like the clingy younger brother he'd always been, he placed a hand on Huatu's back before letting it slide naturally to his waist. Jimmy watched silently. The moment Teh's hand rested against Huatu's waist through his shirt, Jimmy caught himself staring. His waist. It looked so slim that it would fit perfectly beneath one hand. Teh finally let go. Can you add vanilla to my milk? Do it yourself. And what's for dinner? The fried chicken wings I ordered. You actually said ordered? Huata stood with his hands on his hips and glared at his younger brother. The pose was identical. The brothers really were alike after all. Teh grinned sheepishly. So, are my chicken wings ready? They're marinated. They just need frying. You fry them. I'm really good at arranging them in the air fryer. Thank you, my talented little brother. Teh blew across his cup of milk. Then he noticed the other cup. It even looks like Jimmy. I guess I don't have to introduce you two anymore. No need. Huata replied softly. He set Jimmy's cup in front of him. With Teh nearby, he felt a little less nervous. Jimmy held the cup and slowly turned it to admire the drawing once more. Jimmy, want to stay for dinner? Teh asked, unaware that Huata had already invited him. PTOS cooking is amazing. He even used to work in a restaurant and... Yeah, I'll stay. PTO already invited me. Jimmy looked at the drawing one last time before raising his eyes to meet Huatu's warm brown gaze. Thank you, PTO. Chapter 2. That brief moment of carelessness was the most dangerous of all. In my family, guests absolutely are not allowed to wash the dishes. It's the opposite in Jim's family. If you eat at someone else's house, you're supposed to help the host wash up. I've already showered, so I don't really care. If either PTO or Jim wants to wash them. Two pairs of eyes turned toward Teh at the same time before meeting each other's gaze across the sink. I'm going to die from those murderous looks. I'd rather go die in front of the TV. After receiving such intimidating stares, Teh wisely retreated to the living room. Even so, he kept stretching his neck to secretly watch his brother and his close friend arguing over who would do the dishes. I'll wash them. No, Jim will wash them. It's fine. Then how about we split it? Jim washes with the soap, and PTO rinses. If it's like that, then okay. I should probably buy a dishwasher. Next time Jim comes over, we won't have to argue. I mean, if any guests come over, we won't have to argue with them. Huata pulled out 2 pairs of rubber gloves. He handed one pair to Jimmy before slipping on the other himself. Quietly, he let out a small breath. That last sentence had sounded as though he was already hoping Jimmy would visit again. Only he worried about what he'd said. Jimmy probably hadn't even noticed. The younger man rolled up his sleeves to his elbows and began washing the dishes while chatting casually. Did you just buy this house? Since I plan to return to Thailand permanently, I bought it. What were you doing overseas? Further studies. Huata shook his head with a smile as he rinsed a plate clean of soap. At first, they occasionally bumped into each other while working side by side, but before long they had settled into an easy rhythm. I traveled and worked. Teh said you graduated from architecture. Aren't you working in that field? Huata shook his head again. He neatly stacked the clean dishes on the drying rack. I guess it just wasn't the right path for me. Teh seems really attached to you. Of course. I've practically raised him since he was little. Our parents were always busy with work, so we've taken care of each other ever since we were children. Maybe I spoiled him too much. That's why he's become so stubborn. Teh really is stubborn. It wasn't criticism. It was spoken with unmistakable affection. Hwada leaned slightly to peek into the living room, where Teh was happily watching a science fiction movie. Smiling faintly, he returned to the dishes and kept talking so the kitchen wouldn't become too quiet. I actually wanted to buy a place closer to Teh's university, but everything was too expensive. I couldn't afford it. Besides, I don't really like living in condos, so I ended up buying this house. In another year, both Teh and I will graduate anyway. It's fine if it's a little far. Do you live in a dorm, Jim? No. I live in a condo my mom bought for me near the university. She likes investing in property, so she owns quite a few buildings. Oh, and where's your cafe going to be, PTO? Did you notice the white shop on the main road when you drove here? That's mine. I didn't notice it. Next time I come, I'll make sure to look. When the cafe opens, you have to come. Any friend of Teh's is like another younger brother to me. PTO. Hwada raised an eyebrow. What is it? Teh said you graduated from our university. MHM. And you were in the same club as. Jimmy trailed off. He smiled faintly before shaking his head. I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, I'll ask you when I remember. The truth was that Jimmy hadn't forgotten at all. He simply felt that they'd only just met. Asking Hwada to introduce him to someone else would have been strange. He'd wait until they became closer. Or perhaps, there was another reason he deliberately chose not to ask. Even he wasn't entirely sure. Jimmy removed his rubber gloves. His share of the work was finished, but out of courtesy he stayed until Hwada had completed the rest. Only then did they walk back into the living room together. Teh, lounging on the sofa with one arm draped over the backrest, sensed them approaching and turned around. His eyebrows slowly knitted together. He looked back and forth between his brother and his best friend. Without saying a word, he picked up the remote and paused the movie before glancing through the window. The rain stopped. Are you leaving now, Jim? Yeah, I should get going. I'll walk you out. Teh jumped to his feet with unusual enthusiasm. Jimmy found it a little odd. Then he remembered how ridiculously protective Teh was of Hwada and silently sighed. Before leaving, Jimmy picked up the paper cup with the little drawing Hwada had made for him. He'd already finished the warm milk. He'd even washed the cup himself and asked if he could keep it as a souvenir. He genuinely liked Hwada's drawing style. The little cartoon version of himself looked wonderfully cheeky. I'm heading home now, PTO. Drive safely and come visit again. Jimmy nodded. He hadn't brought much with him from the car anyway. After saying goodbye, Teh practically dragged him outside. While Jimmy bent down to put on his shoes, his buffalo-sized best friend folded his arms and narrowed his eyes suspiciously. What are you staring at, Teh? Don't fall for my brother. What? I caught the way you were looking at him from the moment you met. You're imagining things. Don't be ridiculous, Teh. PTO isn't my type. Really? Isn't my brother cute? He is, but he's not my type. I already told you I like Pfa. I'm serious about him. You swear? I swear. Jimmy finished putting on his shoes. For some reason, they felt a little loose today. His attention drifted toward his feet rather than the conversation. Teh continued watching him suspiciously before finally leading him to the white SUV. He held the driver's door open. Look, I'm not just saying this because he's my brother, but you'd better keep your distance. PTO's the kind of person anyone would fall in love with once they get close to him. Then make me the exception. Jimmy winked. You're such a bro-con. Teh released the car door and gently closed it. The car's headlights lit up the road as it drove away until the taillights disappeared into the distance. Teh turned back toward the house. The moment he stepped inside, he blinked. Hwada was standing near the front door with his arms folded, staring in the direction Jimmy had driven away. A faint smile rested on his lips. His warm brown eyes openly revealed his interest. Teh frowned. Hwada. He deliberately called his brother by name. What are you doing standing out here? What? Can't I come out for some fresh air? Hwada casually turned to admire the trees and birds instead. Unfortunately, his younger brother knew him far too well. Teh sighed. He already knew what was coming. It was the one question he absolutely didn't want to hear. Teh, can I ask you something? What? Does your friend, Jimmy, have a girlfriend? I should have gone and bought a lottery ticket. Teh had spent the whole day worrying that Jimmy might fall for Hwada. He'd never once considered the opposite. Jimmy was handsome. He had exactly the rebellious look that matched Hwada's type. Teh ignored the question and walked into the house with a sour expression. Hwada blinked in confusion before following after him. Suddenly, Teh shouted without warning. Whether Jimmy has a girlfriend or not, PTO, you're not allowed to like him. Absolutely not. I'm never bringing him here again. What? Hwada looked startled. Is Jimmy your boyfriend? Can you stop saying terrifying things? Of course not. We're not like that. If that's true, then does Jimmy have someone or not? Ah, I'm so stressed. Teh, answer me. Someone tugged gently at the back of his shirt. The staircase blocked his path, forcing him to stop. He turned around to face his brother with an exhausted sigh. Jimmy's gay, isn't he? Yeah. Teh rubbed the back of his neck. He's openly out. He came out during his first year. Don't smile like that, PTO. What smile? I'm smiling normally. No, that's your happy smile. So does Jimmy have someone or not? If you lie, you'll go to hell. And if you don't answer, you're sleeping outside. Teh scratched the back of his neck again. Reluctantly, he answered, You're so cruel to your little brother. No, he doesn't have a boyfriend. Before Hwada could celebrate, Teh continued. But PTO, I really don't think you should get involved with Jimmy. He's a player. You saw what he's like. You won't be able to keep someone like him. Unfortunately, Hwada barely heard the rest. The instant he heard Jimmy was single, he happily hurried upstairs, leaving his poor younger brother frozen in place. Teh stood there with his mouth hanging open. Which is worse? Jimmy liking to, or to liking Jimmy? After thinking it over carefully, he arrived at the same conclusion. Both were equally terrible. How could two people with completely opposite lifestyles ever work together? Finding Jimmy wasn't difficult. After all, he was Teh's closest friend. That night, because Hwada couldn't stop thinking about him, he buried himself beneath the blanket and endlessly scrolled through Jimmy's Instagram. He'd found the account through Teh's following list. Fortunately, Jimmy's profile wasn't private. Hwada could browse every picture. He didn't dare follow him. As much as he liked Jimmy, he couldn't bring himself to make the first move. So he simply kept scrolling. Scroll, 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 tap. Oh no. Hwada threw the blanket aside and sat bolt upright. He frantically removed the accidental like he'd just left on one of Jimmy's photos. Hopefully, Jimmy wasn't using his phone. But then another notification appeared. Jimmy had requested to follow his private account, which meant he'd definitely seen it. Panicking, Hwada accepted the request and followed him back. His heart pounded wildly. Then a direct message notification appeared. His chest tightened. Jimmy, PTO? Mr. T. Yes, it's me. Jimmy, you're still awake? Mr. T. What time did you get home? I'm worried. Hwada quickly deleted the words I'm worried. That was far too obvious. Mr. T. Did you get home safely? Jimmy, around 11. It was raining, so traffic was awful. Oishnakikich. Mr. T. What's that? Jimmy, my cat walked across the keyboard. Mr. T. You have a cat? Jimmy, yeah. His name's Sane C. 140,000. I named him after how much he cost. Mr. T. That's expensive. Is he the cat you're always posting pictures of? Once again, Hwada hurriedly deleted the message. If he kept typing things like that, Jimmy would definitely realize he'd been stalking his Instagram. Nearly 80% of the account was cat photos. Jimmy, photos sent. Jimmy, do you like cats, PTO? Mr. T, I do. They're adorable. Jimmy, can I bring Sane C over to your house tomorrow? It's Saturday, so I don't have class. I'm bored staying home, and the shopping centers are always crowded. Hwada buried his face in a pillow and screamed. Then he rolled around on the bed. A handsome man wanted to bring his cat to his house. His house. His house. His house. He couldn't help wondering. Maybe Jimmy liked him too. The smiles they'd exchanged today. No, too. He bit his lip. Stop imagining things. Curled up beneath the blanket, his feet kicked happily against the mattress anyway. He thought carefully about how to reply. How could he answer without sounding awkward? Mr. T, sure. Teh will be here too. Jimmy, I'm bored of Teh. I want to spend more time with PTO. Mr. T, spend time doing what? His heart pounded harder. Please don't say anything that'll make me misunderstand. Jimmy, I don't know. Anyway, I'm coming tomorrow morning. Mr. T, what time counts as morning for you? Morning for me is 10 o'clock. Jimmy, same here. Mr. T, come whenever you like. I'm planning to bake a cake tomorrow. I'd appreciate another taste tester. T's already gained 5 kilos from helping me taste everything, and he won't stop complaining. Jimmy, so I'm your next victim? Mr. T, don't be silly. Jimmy, going to bed now, PTO? I'm getting sleepy. Mr. T, I'm going to sleep too. Hwada hesitated. Should he tell Jimmy goodnight? He hadn't expected Jimmy to send another message first. His already racing heart seemed ready to burst. Jimmy, good night, PTO. Jim's going to sleep now. So sleepy. Mr. T, okay. Good night, Jimmy. Hwada kept holding his phone. He bit his lip to suppress the heat spreading across his face. When no more messages arrived, he curled onto his side and pulled the blanket over himself with both hands and feet. He stared at the glowing screen, reading their short conversation. Again, and again, and again. It took a very long time before he finally set the phone beside him and lay flat on his back. He closed his eyes. Sleep, however, refused to come. The next morning, Hwada woke unusually early. He showered, got dressed, even chose an outfit that looked as though he were about to go out. Naturally, the first person to notice was his younger brother. Teh, who was 5 years younger, spooned some yogurt into his mouth before asking curiously, "Where are you going? You're dressed up." "I'm not going anywhere." "Then why are you wearing that? You even put on perfume. Normally, if you're staying home, you only shower once a day." "I'm expecting a guest." "Huh? Who?" Teh finished his yogurt and carried the empty container to the bin. He was still wearing last night's trousers, completely shirtless, and looked half asleep. "Jimmy. He'll probably be here this morning." "PTO. What? Why do you suddenly sound so serious?" Teh rubbed his forehead. He looked genuinely troubled. "Why's Jimmy coming? That's not good. How did you even know he was coming?" "We talked." "When?" "Last night." "Where?" "On Instagram." "Why do you have Jimmy's Instagram? Are you following each other?" Hwada immediately shrank under the questioning. He no longer looked like the older brother at all. Without answering, he escaped into the kitchen. Teh followed after him. "PTO, explain everything. When you like someone," Hwada spoke softly, "don't you naturally want to know more about them? Finding someone's Instagram isn't difficult." "My head hurts." "I told you not to eat frozen yogurt first thing in the morning. It's too cold." "My headache has nothing to do with the yogurt." Teh sighed heavily. "It's because of you." "Move aside. I'm making coffee." "Couldn't you have liked someone besides Jimmy?" Teh still had no idea how to explain that the person Jimmy actually liked was Plaifah. "What's wrong with Jimmy? And if he isn't a good person, why are you friends with him?" "I'm not exactly a good person either." Teh sighed. "But Jimmy isn't interested in you. He's a player. Don't believe him if he says sweet things. And then, he'll never fall for you." Teh lowered his voice. "He already likes someone else." Hwada fell silent. "Jimmy and I never talked about anything like that. When did I ever say we were flirting? Right now, we're nothing. I'm just interested in him. I'm not trying to chase him." He laughed softly. "Look at me. I wouldn't even know how to flirt. I'm only saying this because I don't want you getting hurt. Jimmy's fine as a friend or a junior, but I would never recommend dating him." He paused. "Unless your life's been so peaceful that you're looking for trouble." "All right." Hwada reluctantly gave in. "We'll just stay friends. Happy now?" "I already said neither of us is flirting." It was rare for Teh to be so serious. There was no point arguing. Still, his words hurt. "He'll never fall for you. He already likes someone else." So that's how it is. Forget it. Do you know Saint-C?" Hwada suddenly changed the subject. Teh's expression softened immediately. "Jimmy's cat." "Yeah. He said he's bringing him over." "Seriously? When I visit, he barely even lets me touch that cat." "He's that protective?" "Extremely." Teh looked stunned. "He's really bringing him here?" "Why would I lie? Jimmy was the one who suggested bringing him over." "Cat slave." Hwada laughed as he watched his younger brother suddenly stretch his neck to peer outside. Only moments ago, Teh had been unhappy about Jimmy visiting. Now he was eagerly waiting for the cat. Shaking his head with a smile, Hwada brewed himself a cup of coffee. Then he quietly started making breakfast. For himself, for Teh, and, secretly, for Jimmy as well. Friends. Just friends. But it was unbelievably difficult to stop his heart from hoping for something more. Chapter 3. Lies are where all bad things begin. Late that morning, the doorbell rang. Busy at the kitchen counter, Hwada glanced toward the front door. He stayed where he was, knowing perfectly well who the visitor was, and let his younger brother answer it instead. The sound of their conversation drifted into the kitchen, though unfortunately, he couldn't make out a single word. A moment later, the front door closed. By then, Hwada had finished plating breakfast for 3 people. Just as he untied the apron strings behind his back, the The tall young man walked into the kitchen. Morning, PTO. You're here already? The moment the words left his mouth, Huada froze. Why did I ask something so stupid? You're here already? Of course he's here. If he weren't here, how could I see him? How embarrassing. Thankfully, Jimmy didn't question it. He simply lowered his head slightly in acknowledgement. I'm here. Have you eaten yet? Not yet. I made extra. Eat with us. Teh already told me not to eat breakfast before coming. He said PTO made extra for me. A teasing smile spread across Jimmy's face. Huada stood there speechless. For some reason, all he could think about was how beautiful Jimmy's lips were. Perfectly shaped like a cupid's bow. Soft, healthy, and naturally rosy. He must really take good care of himself. Realizing he'd been staring far too long, Huada hurriedly turned back toward the counter. His fingers fumbled with the knot behind his back. Instead of loosening it, he accidentally pulled it even tighter. Huada twisted around, trying to look at the knot. His face felt increasingly warm because Jimmy hadn't moved away. He was still watching him. Jimmy narrowed his eyes slightly. Need some help? You can't really untie it yourself, can you? If you'll allow me. Although he asked politely, Jimmy didn't actually wait for permission. He stepped behind Huatu, who barely reached the tip of his nose. A subtle scent of expensive cologne drifted through the air. Without realizing it, Jimmy breathed it in. His long fingers easily loosened the stubborn knot. In only a few seconds, the tightly fastened apron strings came free and fell forward. Huada quickly stepped away. He removed the apron and hung it on its usual hook before turning toward the breakfast plates. Can you help me carry these outside? Sure. Jimmy immediately picked up one of the plates. I'll take this. Without hesitation, he carried it into the dining room. As he walked out, Huada heard him call toward the living room. Teh, breakfast's ready. Already. Still hugging the cat and rubbing his face against its fluffy body, Teh looked up. His gaze moved from Jimmy, past Jimmy's shoulder, and landed on Huatu. His expression immediately became suspicious. Huatu's cheeks were bright red. As for Jimmy, he looked exactly as calm and carefree as always. There was no point guessing anymore. Teh was absolutely certain that Huata liked Jimmy. As for Jimmy, his expression gave nothing away. You stay here for a bit, Saint C. PTS going to eat first, then we'll play. Teh kissed the cat's forehead before letting him wander around the house. Stretching to his full height, he walked into the kitchen. Breakfast was simple. Stir-fried vegetables, scrambled eggs with prawns, a light soup. Whenever the two brothers spent weekends together, breakfast and lunch usually became one large meal. The rest of the day was spent eating whatever desserts Huada happened to be experimenting with. Teh carried the remaining dishes to the table before dropping into the chair beside Jimmy. The moment Huata disappeared into the kitchen to fetch glasses of water, Teh nudged Jimmy with his elbow. What are you doing here? Don't you have anything better to do? I'm free. Why can't I come? Yesterday you said you weren't interested in him. Teh lowered his voice. And now you're flirting. You're even more protective of your brother than I thought. Jimmy laughed quietly. I don't actually like PTO. Then why are you here? Yesterday PTO said he'd bake a cake and let me taste it. So, I came up with an idea. What idea? Jimmy simply smiled. You'll see. What are you talking about? Teh only grew more confused. Before Jimmy could explain, Huata returned carrying glasses of water. Jimmy immediately stood up. PTO, how much rice would you like? His enthusiasm made Teh secretly pout. The conversation ended there. Jimmy served rice for Huatu, then served Teh as well. As he handed Teh his bowl, he gave him a meaningful look. Trust me. Trust him about what? Teh had absolutely no idea. Breakfast passed pleasantly. The awkwardness between strangers gradually disappeared through casual conversation. Huata was naturally easy to get along with. Jimmy was equally talkative. When they were halfway through the meal, Jimmy finally put his mysterious plan into action. PTO. Huata looked up. His mouth was still full of rice, so he simply raised an eyebrow. Do you know Plaifah? From the Faculty of Science. Oh, Fa. Huata nodded. Of course I know him. What? His expression slowly became thoughtful. Only a few moments later, he remembered something. He actually contacted me a few months ago. I think he's planning to move to Australia after graduation. Right. Jimmy nodded. This afternoon, are you making dessert? Can I invite Pfa over? This time Huata frowned deeply. He stared at Jimmy, silently waiting for an explanation. Teh likes Pfa. What? Jimmy continued calmly. But he's too shy to make a move. Jimmy. Both Huatu and Teh shouted at the same time. Teh slammed his spoon onto the table before glaring furiously at Jimmy. Jimmy remained completely innocent. Huatu, however, misunderstood everything. He assumed Teh was only reacting out of embarrassment. Don't be shy, Teh. Huatu smiled warmly. I've never seen you interested in anyone before. This is the first time you've genuinely liked somebody. I'm not embarrassed. Teh almost shouted. He wasn't lying. The liar sitting beside him was Jimmy, whose arm casually rested across his shoulders. PTO, you have to help him. Jimmy smiled. Otherwise he'll stay single forever. I never knew you liked men. Huatu shook his head with amused disbelief. You never told me. He reached for his phone. PTO, what are you doing? I'm inviting Fah. What? Oh, come on. Huatu laughed. I won't tell Fah that Teh likes him. He looked down as Sain-Si wandered over and rubbed against his leg. And it'll be more fun with more people, right, Sain-Si? Meow. The British short hair rubbed even harder against Huatu's leg. So affectionate. Huatu bent down to scratch beneath the cat's chin. Teh sat nearby with both fists clenched. Apparently, his own brother had already stopped paying attention to him. The cat had won. Sain-Si really likes PTO. Jimmy chuckled. Is this what people call getting the blue tick of approval? Exactly. Huatu looked back at his phone. Fah replied. He says he's free. Is he coming? Jimmy leaned forward eagerly. I've already sent him the location. Jimmy smiled. Unfortunately, Huatu had no idea what that smile actually meant. I hate you, PTO. I told you not to be upset. I hate you too, Jim. Teh pointed accusingly. You bastard. Jimmy merely shrugged. But I love you, Teh. I'm taking Sain-Si to a temple and abandoning him. Jimmy wasn't remotely worried. Teh loved Sain-Si far too much to ever do something like that. If anything, once breakfast was over, Teh would probably spend the entire afternoon cuddling the cat. By the time Plaifah arrived, it was already afternoon. Teh had fallen asleep on the sofa. Sain-Si was sleeping comfortably on top of his chest. Soft music drifted quietly through the house. Huatu was busy in the kitchen. Jimmy sat alone at the dining table, watching him. Huatu had rewarded him for keeping him company with a hot Americano. Jimmy couldn't deny it. Watching Huatu work was strangely captivating. He moved confidently around the equipment. Sheets of paper covered in handwritten recipes lay scattered across the counter. He would write something, cross it out, then scribble new measurements beside it. Jimmy simply watched. Until the doorbell rang. Huatu looked up. Teh rolled over with a sleepy groan, but showed no sign of waking. As his human mattress shifted, Sain-Si jumped gracefully onto the floor. Fah must be here. Jimmy stood up. Teh's basically dead whenever he's asleep. I'll get the door. He rose so quickly that his chair scraped loudly across the floor. Huatu didn't stop him. Even so, as the owner of the house, he hurried after him. Jimmy opened the front door. Huatu peeked around Jimmy's shoulder. Fah, you're here already? Apparently, you're here already had become his signature greeting. Plaifah blinked in surprise. If I wasn't here, would you be able to see me? He laughed. It's been a while, P. Have you gotten even fairer? You look younger than ever. Come in. Plaifah stepped inside before noticing Jimmy. Oh, you have company? Removing his shoes, he offered Jimmy a polite smile. You two are in the same year, aren't you? You don't know each other. I haven't really been paying attention to guys lately. Plaifah laughed. I'm more interested in girls these days, even though I'm prettier than most of them. He grinned. I'm Plaifah. Same year. What faculty? I don't think we've met. Jimmy. Arts. Oh. Plaifah pointed at him. I've heard of you. You're pretty famous. After finishing with his shoes, he followed them inside. Spotting Teh asleep on the sofa, he pointed. He's not planning to wake up and greet his guest? No. Huatu smiled helplessly. Once he's asleep, that's it. Your house is adorable. Plaifah looked around. Do you keep cats too? No. Huatu smiled. Sain-Si belongs to Jimmy. Sit down, Fah. I'll get you something to drink. Coffee. I'd love some. Plaifah inhaled deeply. Your house smells incredible. Coffee and baked goods. He looked curiously at Huatu. I was surprised you suddenly invited me over. I missed you. Huatu smiled. And what did you mean by only liking girls these days? Standing behind the small espresso machine, Huatu rested his hands on his hips. It had been quite a while since they'd last met. Plaifah took Jimmy's former seat, leaving Jimmy to sit beside him. My orientation's just like that. He shrugged. These days I'm more interested in women. People are a little confused because I used to date only men. But honestly, it's no big deal. You change your mind a lot. Hwada laughed. So when are you going back to liking men? Plaifah shook his head. Not now. And definitely not anytime soon. Wow. Hwada sounded genuinely disappointed. Don't tell me you secretly like me, PTO. I don't like girls either. The words slipped out naturally. After saying them, Hwada quietly observed Jimmy's reaction. Jimmy's eyebrows rose ever so slightly. He hadn't expected that answer. The signal had been sent. Jimmy had noticed it. If PTO likes me. Plaifah grinned. I'll chase you. How shameless. But you're adorable. He reached over and pinched Hwatu's soft cheek before immediately letting go. Then he turned toward Jimmy with an apologetic smile. Oops. I forgot the owner was here. Sorry. PTO's cheeks are just so soft. I couldn't resist. What owner? Hwada looked completely confused. Isn't Jimmy your boyfriend? No. Hwatu immediately denied it. He's T's friend. Oh. Plaifah looked embarrassed. I thought he was your boyfriend. He quickly bowed apologetically toward both of them. Hwatu's face instantly turned scarlet. Jimmy looked away, not because he was embarrassed, but because the person he'd been pursuing, Fa, had mistaken him and Hwatu for a couple. An awkward silence followed. Only Sain-Si broke it. Meow. The cat rubbed against Jimmy's legs. Jimmy scooped him into his arms. At that moment, Hwatu placed a steaming cup of coffee in front of Plaifah. The cool air conditioning made the hot drink feel perfect. Plaifah inhaled deeply. It smells amazing. So you're really opening a cafe after moving back to Thailand? That's right. It opens early next month. When it opens, tell me. I'll definitely come support you. He blew gently across the coffee before taking a sip. Medium roast. He smiled. It's perfect. Then another idea struck him. Peeped. He looked between Hwatu and Jimmy. Want to go on a trip next week? I'm going to Lopburi. I booked accommodation with some friends, but they all have lab work now. They're trying to sell their room because canceling is such a hassle. He leaned forward. There'll be 4 of us. PTO, Jimmy, Teh, and me. If you come, I'll ask my friends to give you a discount. You're quite the salesman. Always. Plaifah laughed. He sipped his coffee while quietly watching Hwatu and Jimmy exchange glances. Something about the way they looked at each other made him even more convinced they were dating. What do you think, Jim? Jimmy turned toward Hwatu. What about you, PTO? I'd like to go. Hwatu smiled. I've never been to Lopburi. It's beautiful. Plaifah immediately began promoting the city. There are lots of new attractions. And the Mu Kratha is incredible. Not wanting to lose his reputation as a salesman, he enthusiastically recommended restaurants and sightseeing spots. Meanwhile, Hwatu walked over to the sofa. He gently nudged Teh awake and whispered something. Then he returned. Tea's coming too. He smiled. Send me the details online later, Fa. Absolutely. Plaifah grinned. Aren't you coming? Jimmy asked. I have to look after the cat. You can leave him here. Teh will take good care of him. No chance. Jimmy laughed. You traumatized my cat. I don't trust Teh. Who are you calling untrustworthy? Teh had finally woken properly. PTO finished another cake. Go help him taste it. I can't. It's so sweet it's making me sick. And your beloved Pfa already ran away. He had something to do. Sure. Teh snorted. Something important. He removed Jimmy's arm from around his shoulders before walking back into the house with Sain-Si in his arms. PTO. He buried his face in the cat. Should we get a cat too? Hwatu looked at him before smiling at Jimmy. He cost 140,000. I'll sell a kidney. Teh immediately put Sain-Si down. Fine. What if we adopt a stray instead? Can you really take care of one? No. Teh answered honestly. That's why I'm asking PTO. There are more people at home. So you're worried the kitten would die? Jimmy watched Sain-Si curl up on the sofa before turning back toward the brothers. I've got some advice. Maybe later. Hwatu laughed. We'll talk about cats another time. He looked at Teh. Aren't you going to Lopburi with Fa? Teh's smile became incredibly strange. If he hadn't been so handsome, it would have looked awful. He slowly shook his head. Hwatu already knew he liked Plaifah. Jimmy, I'm not going. My heart's broken. Fa doesn't even like men right now. Forget it. Please don't bring it up again. What are you talking about? Hwatu looked puzzled. You said you were going. I already accepted on your behalf. And about him not liking men. He smiled reassuringly. If it's meant to happen, he'll like you eventually. What? Teh stared in disbelief. When did I ever say I was going to Loppery? When I nudged you. I wasn't asking whether you wanted to go. I was asking if you wanted Mukrotha tonight. No. Hwada laughed. I only said Fair recommended Loppery's Mukrotha. Jimmy and I are both going. You can't back out now. Teh stood there with his mouth hanging open. He ran a hand through his messy hair. Speechless. He turned toward Jimmy for confirmation. Jimmy simply nodded. Everything Hwada said was true. Those two really had become close frighteningly quickly. Teh let out a long, defeated sigh. So, when are we leaving? Next Saturday. And we'll come back Sunday. Jimmy answered for Hwatu. Teh muttered a curse beneath his breath before glaring at him. You look awfully happy about this, Jim. Chapter 4. It's common knowledge that falling in love is incredibly easy. On the day of the trip, one person looked completely disheveled, while another looked like he could fall asleep standing up. The disheveled one was Teh. No one had forced him to come, but the alarm had dragged him out of bed far too early. The sleepy one was Jimmy, who wasn't used to waking up early. The only two who looked fully awake and genuinely excited were Hwatu and Plaifah. A few days earlier, they had agreed to meet at Tu's house before driving to Loppery in Jimmy's large family car. It was only 2 minutes past the agreed meeting time, yet someone still hadn't finished brushing his teeth after breakfast. Teh. Hwada called his younger brother's name, his voice thick with exasperation. He wasn't annoyed because Teh was 2 minutes late. That hardly counted as being late. Everyone else was still getting ready as well. The problem was that his hopeless younger brother was wandering around the house with a mouth full of toothpaste foam while guests were present. Your mouth is full of foam. That's disgusting. Teh merely shrugged. He had already taken off the graphic t-shirt he'd been wearing before washing his face and brushing his teeth properly. Now he wore only a pair of dark 3/4-length pants, exposing his toned abs and fair skin. Tu's scolding didn't seem to bother him in the slightest. Plaifah chuckled quietly over his coffee. He turned slightly to watch Teh, privately appreciating the view. A shirtless man brushing his teeth was unexpectedly pleasing to the eye. Without saying anything, he took another sip of coffee, his gaze following Teh until Hwata nudged him toward the bathroom to finish brushing his teeth properly. Hwata sighed. You still don't know him. You sound old. I feel old. Teh smiled helplessly. Do you and Teh never talk? Never. I know he's your brother, so we smile and greet each other whenever we meet, but we've never actually had a conversation. Plaifah answered casually while scooping scrambled eggs into his mouth. Normally he skipped breakfast, but this was Hwatu's house. His host had insisted he sit at the table and eat the breakfast that had been prepared. There was plenty of food, so refusing would have been rude. He had arrived about 10 minutes after Jimmy and had started eating last, so he still hadn't finished. Teh had simply told him not to rush. After all, Teh wasn't ready yet either. So that's how it is. I'm going to help Jimmy with the luggage. I'll be right back. Okay. Plaifah nodded. Moments later, Hwata disappeared outside. Through the glass window, Plaifah watched his small figure walk toward the white car. Jimmy, who was arranging the luggage in the back, immediately broke into a wide smile when Teh approached. They really did look good together. Oh, PTO. The surprised voice made Plaifah turn around. Teh was already dressed neatly. Unlike his gentle older brother, he stood with his hands on his hips. PTO. The repeated words were clearly a question. At that moment, only the two of them remained inside the house. He's outside helping Jimmy with the luggage. After hearing the answer, Teh immediately looked through the glass window, just as Plaifah had moments earlier. His expression darkened slightly. His possessiveness toward his brother was obvious. Teh had never been good at hiding his emotions, nor did he care whether anyone noticed them. Unlike Hwatu, who was shy and always kept his feelings hidden. Are those two dating? No. Jim said he doesn't like PTO. Teh stopped looking outside. Since Jimmy liked Plaifah, he defended him, insisting there was nothing romantic between Jimmy and Hwatu. Still, something about saying it left an unpleasant feeling in his chest. Can you accept that? Accept what? The fact that Jim doesn't like PTO. Plaifah rested his chin on one hand. Who could resist someone as kind and adorable as Hwatu? Besides, it looks like PTO likes Jim. Teh rubbed the tip of his nose while looking at Plaifah. Those large, light brown eyes sparkled mischievously. The rumors about Plaifah's flirtatious nature clearly weren't exaggerated. The top science student wasn't famous for nothing. Even Teh had to admit, Plaifah was incredibly attractive, and he knew exactly how to use that charm. Not necessarily. The person Jim likes might be just as hard to resist. Jim likes someone. Around here. Teh changed the subject. Finished eating, Pha? I'll clear the dishes. I'm done. Plaifah stood and picked up the plates himself. I'll do it. And you don't have to call me Pha. Just Pha is fine. But only when we're alone. Plaifah winked before walking into the kitchen with the plates and glasses. As he passed Teh, he whispered softly enough that only the two of them could hear. Pha thinks. Pha likes you. Teh's breathing caught. His heart skipped for just a moment. His eyes remained fixed on the smile lingering at the corners of Plaifah's lips. He swallowed. Jimmy liked Plaifah, but Plaifah said he liked him. No, don't be fooled. Not even for a second. Absolutely not. Just leave them there. Even so, resisting Plaifah's low voice and seductive smile was unexpectedly difficult. Just leave them there, Pha. For one fleeting moment, Teh thought. Maybe it wouldn't hurt. Maybe he could let his heart play around just a little. He followed Plaifah into the kitchen. Plaifah leaned back against the counter and looked up at him. Then slender arms slipped around Teh's neck, gently pulling him down until their lips met. Teh instinctively pulled away. He wasn't innocent, but he had never met anyone this bold. There was barely a second of distance between them before he gave in, greedily capturing Plaifah's soft lips in another kiss. The quiet sounds of kissing and uneven breathing filled the kitchen. Teh knew. This kiss was only the beginning. We're the same kind. Plaifah gently pushed him away before wiping the moisture from his lips with the back of his hand. Teh stepped back willingly. The spark of desire had already been lit. What kind? Teh smiled. Bad people. This kid brushes his teeth well. Instead of answering, Plaifah wiped the corner of Teh's mouth clean. He never explained what he meant by the same kind. Teh pressed his lips together after being complimented. Perhaps the praise came because his tongue had just thoroughly explored every one of his teeth. He shrugged before following Plaifah back outside to join Huatu and Jimmy. The line between him and Plaifah was perfectly clear. Neither of them was looking for love. What they wanted from each other was physical pleasure. Nothing more. The same kind. Maybe that simply meant people who didn't believe in commitment. People who didn't want to be tied down. Pha. Jim likes Pha. Jim likes me. Yeah. But Pha doesn't like Jim. Plaifah's expression remained calm. And I'm not planning to get serious with anyone right now. The conversation ended there. As they approached the others, the distance between them naturally widened again. Everything had already been loaded into the car. Huatu and Jimmy were leaning against it together, laughing at a funny cat video on Jimmy's phone while waiting. Teh walked over to his brother. I locked the house. Here, PTO. You keep the key. I'll probably lose it. Everything's ready? Shall we go? Huatu accepted the key without taking his eyes off the phone. Only after the video ended and Jimmy slipped his phone back into his favorite crossbody bag did they finally climb into the car. As they walked, Huatu quietly asked, So, did you get to know Pha a little better? What do you mean? I deliberately gave you two some time alone. Instead of answering, Teh frowned when he saw Huatu open the front passenger door. You're sitting in front with Jim? If I do, you'll have to sit with Pha. The relationships between Jimmy, Plaifah, and Huatu were already complicated enough. Yeah. Huatu smiled. I'll sit in front. You sit with Pha. And Jim doesn't mind? Why would he? I asked him if it was okay for you two to sit together, and he agreed. Serves him right. Teh muttered under his breath. Jimmy was the one who had admitted he liked Plaifah. He had no right to complain. What did you say? Nothing. Teh climbed into the back seat. Plaifah entered from the opposite side. Neither of them spoke. Soon, the car pulled away. Teh leaned forward between the front seats. If Jim starts driving like an idiot, PTO, just smack him. Who's driving like an idiot? Jimmy protested immediately. I'm talking about you. Teh grinned. If he drives badly, just smack him. PTO wouldn't do that, would he? Huatu only laughed. See, Jimmy said proudly. PTO laughed. That means he won't. Pha can smack him too. Teh turned toward Plaifah. Plaifah simply shook his head. I'll smack him myself and blamed Pha. Your plan is surprisingly quiet. Use your turn signal before leaving the alley, idiot. I did. Too late. Exactly 30 meters before turning. I think it was less. I think it was perfect. Merging into the right lane is terrifying, Dad. The road was clear. Jimmy drives pretty fast, doesn't he? Hua-Tu's gentle voice interrupted their bickering. Jimmy immediately eased off the accelerator. He turned toward Hua-Tu. Are you scared, PTO? A little. Hua-Tu smiled. I drive much more slowly. Then, Jimmy smiled back. I'll drive slowly today. They say impatient people drive fast. Jim's patient. I don't think so. Come on. Not at all. See? Jimmy gestured toward the speedometer. I'm driving slowly now. The speed really had dropped. From terrifying to merely irresponsible. Teh leaned back into his seat with folded arms while watching Jimmy and Hua-Tu chat quietly. A gentle kick against his shoe drew his attention. He turned. Plaifah was smiling. Can't resist it. He clearly wasn't talking about them. He meant Hua-Tu and Jimmy. Let's make a bet on whether those two will fall in love. I'd rather not. Why? We'd probably choose the same answer. Plaifah only shrugged. Falling in love is easy. He smiled faintly. Very easy. But after you fall in love. His voice softened. Nothing is easy anymore, is it? You say that like you've been in love before. Teh looked at him. Do you fall in love often? Never. Plaifah smiled. What about you? I guess. Teh looked out the window. Never. What was love like? Was it peeling snacks for someone while they were driving? Teh secretly glanced toward the front again. Jim, do you want some chips? I'll peel them open for you. Yes, please. What flavor? Any flavor of Lay's. Jimmy grinned. PTO, feed me too. Teh folded his arms tighter and stared out the window. Plaifah had been right. Falling in love really was easy. Sometimes, the person falling in love didn't even realize it. Plaifah's newest landmark was near the end of the dam. Stretching as far as the eye could see was a vast grassy field beside the water, where villagers raised large herds of cows and goats. Jimmy brushed back his slightly damp hair. A pair of sunglasses rested on his handsome face as he glanced at his watch. It was late afternoon. A cool breeze swept through the area where he stood, making the weather pleasantly refreshing. Even so, perhaps because he naturally sweated easily, beads of perspiration still gathered along his temples. Jimmy craned his neck to look toward Teh. Teh had a camera in his hands. Nearby, Hua-Tu and Plaifah stood close together, each holding a handful of acacia leaves to feed the goats. Don't ask why Jimmy was standing there alone. There wasn't much to do except stop walking and play with the dog that seemed to be hurting the goats and cows. But the four-legged worker had already lost interest in him. It was probably time to go join the others. He looked toward Plaifah and Hua-Tu. The two of them were about the same size, yet their personalities couldn't have been more different. PTO was calm and gentle. Fa was lively and outgoing. As Jimmy watched them, Hua-Tu seemed to notice his gaze. He lifted a small hand and beckoned him over. After spending the entire day together, they had grown noticeably closer. Jimmy started walking toward him. Hua-Tu was no longer paying him any attention, surrounded by a crowd of goats eagerly nibbling the acacia leaves from his hands. Instead, Teh walked over. He lifted the camera to eye level and snapped a photo. Caught you off guard. Off guard, my ass. Someone as handsome as Jimmy looks good from every angle. Even your candid shots are heartbreakingly handsome. Let me see. Teh lowered the camera and handed it over. Jimmy scrolled through the photos. There were pictures of both Hua-Tu and Plaifah, but most of them were of Plaifah. There are so many pictures of Fa. I thought someone who loves his brother as much as you do would have taken more photos of PTO. Teh raised an eyebrow. Jimmy was right. Only now did he realize he'd taken far more pictures of Plaifah than Hua-Tu. Maybe it was because Plaifah always happened to be in frame. Or maybe it was because Hua-Tu disliked having his picture taken and always avoided the camera. Whatever the reason, Fa is your favorite. I'm just a friend. What else could I be? Yeah. You don't sound very happy about that. Teh studied Jimmy's face. What's wrong? Changed your mind and started liking my brother instead? You agree with everything PTO says. That would be a problem. Jimmy shook his head. I only see PTO as an older brother. Good. Teh smiled. I don't want you as my brother-in-law anyway. You're talking nonsense again. Maybe. Teh rested his hands on his hips before casually changing the subject. It's much cooler now. This afternoon was like hell. As he glanced around, his eyes met someone else's. Plaifah was looking at him. The corners of his lips curved into the faintest smile. Teh quickly looked back at Jimmy, refusing to hold that gaze any longer. Just looking at him made his head feel a little light. At least, not now. It's a good thing it didn't rain today. That's because I came with Teh. Jimmy grinned. I came with a good person, so of course it didn't rain. Teh sighed. Here, take your camera back. Send me all the photos later. Which ones do you want? All of them. I'll sort through them myself. Jimmy handed the camera back. The sun was beginning to set. The sky slowly shifted colors as the afternoon light softened, prompting Jimmy to remove his sunglasses and fold them away. At that exact moment, Hwada finally ran out of acacia leaves. Jimmy's eyes followed only one thing. The gentle smile glowing beneath the last light of the day. He never noticed Teh standing behind him, quietly watching both Jimmy's back. And the image still displayed on the camera screen. It wasn't a picture of Plaifah, nor was it a landscape. It was a photograph of Hwada, a bright, radiant smile. Probably the widest smile PTO had worn in every picture taken that day. Teh slowly raised the camera again. Click. He took another photograph. Jimmy's back filled the foreground. Farther ahead stood Hwada, smiling even more brightly than in the previous picture. It was a smile, one that Teh, who treasured his brothers so dearly, didn't want Hwada giving to anyone else. Maybe. It was nothing more than the selfishness of a child afraid someone would steal away the person he loved. But he wasn't a child anymore. Teh flinched. A warm hand had suddenly settled against his back. Did I startle you? Sorry. Fah. Want some water? It's only room temperature. I'm not thirsty. Go ahead. Teh stood stiffly as he watched Plaifah drink. Someone who was naturally so charming. Sometimes even the simple act of drinking water, or the slow movement of his Adam's apple, was enough to leave anyone watching completely captivated. Not to mention the way his tongue lightly moistened those soft, glossy lips. Kissable. The thought slipped into Teh's mind before he could stop it. After this, we're going to Duong Charoen for Mukrata. That's the highlight of the trip. We can't miss it. You're so small, yet you eat so much. You snack all day. Where does it all go? I like it when you call me small. Plaifah smiled. It makes me feel like Teh is fond of Fah. And do you like that? Teh asked quietly. Do you want me to be fond of you? I don't really care. Plaifah answered with a teasing smile. I'd rather you were more fond of me in bed. What are you saying? Teh frowned. That's really vulgar. Don't pretend you're different. What kind of person I am has nothing to do with Fah. You're so cold. Plaifah laughed softly. But you're right. It doesn't matter what kind of person Teh is. He raised his voice toward the others. PTO. Jim. Fah's already hungry for Mukrata. Plaifah walked toward Hwada. Teh watched him go before lifting the camera once more to capture another photograph. That's true. What really matters is, what kind of person are you? People say he's not that kind of person. But Plaifah never explained what he meant by that kind. Teh swallowed hard, the lump in his throat suddenly feeling much heavier. Jimmy liked Plaifah, yet Plaifah had said he liked Teh. No, I can't let myself be swayed. Not even for a second. Absolutely not. Chapter 5. Sometimes, not knowing is better. Before checking into their accommodation, Teh and Jimmy stopped to buy a generous supply of alcohol. They had booked 2 rooms. One was for Teh and Jimmy. The other was for Hwada and Plaifah. Since they arrived fairly early, everyone showered, changed into comfortable clothes, and then gathered in Jimmy's room. Can after can of beer was opened. The first person to become obviously drunk, his face flushed and his words slurred, was Hwada. He struggled onto the bed while everyone else burst into laughter. Yet not a single person volunteered to help him back to his own room. You kids are hopeless. You got me drunk and won't even take me to bed. PTO gets cuter the more he drinks. Doesn't he look especially kissable? Plaifah laughed from where he sat on the floor. His eyes followed Hwada's limp body as it rolled lazily across the wide mattress. Fortunately, Plaifah had a fairly high alcohol tolerance. Even after drinking with Teh and Jimmy, he remained quite sober. Hwada fumbled around sleepily. When his hand found Jimmy's shoulder, he clung to it. His breathing gradually steadied. He had fallen asleep. He's sleeping while holding on to Jim's shirt. Plaifah smiled. It's like he's afraid Jim will disappear. It wasn't that Plaifah was completely sober. He had drunk quite a lot himself. Had he been fully clear-headed, he probably wouldn't have said something like that. Jimmy glanced at him before gently loosening Hua Tu's grip from his shirt. Then he opened another can of beer. Now that Hua Tu had fallen asleep, there was no one left to tease. The lively atmosphere gradually grew quiet. Teh, who was sitting on the floor, began to stand. I should take PTO back to his room. Someone caught his wrist. He looked down. It was Plaifah. Later, Plaifah smiled. We haven't finished the beer yet, Teh. Teh looked toward Jimmy. Jimmy nodded in agreement. So Teh sat back down, grabbed a handful of snacks, and began eating. Plaifah casually stole the bag from his hands and helped himself as well, looking perfectly satisfied that Teh had stayed. I'm going to the bathroom for a minute. Jimmy scratched at his bright red neck. Since no one objected, he headed toward the bathroom near the entrance. Hua Tu was asleep. Jimmy was in the bathroom. Teh let out a quiet laugh before resting a hand lightly against Plaifah's back. It's funny. Earlier today, I was trying to set you up with Jim. He smiled. And now it's the two of us sitting here alone. Stop trying to pair Fah with Jim. Plaifah handed him another can. Drink. Don't you want to try? Teh tilted his head. A serious relationship. Jim's sincere. He told me so himself. I think you could trust him. He's handsome. And rich. Even if it's Jim. Plaifah shook his head. I still don't want him. Fah already said he doesn't want to get serious with anyone. I know. Wow. Plaifah laughed. What a polite way for a man to say yes. He shifted slightly. The movement caused Teh's hand to slide from his back. Teh quietly withdrew it. The sound of the toilet flushing echoed from the bathroom. Jimmy was finished. A faint smile curved across Plaifah's lips. The reason he had moved away wasn't because he disliked Teh's touch. He simply didn't want Jimmy to see. There was still enough time for one more sip of beer. And one more kiss. Before Jimmy returned, Plaifah leaned forward and pressed his lips against Teh's. Teh didn't pull away. Instead, he kissed him back. One of Teh's hands settled against Plaifah's waist, gently squeezing him closer. The simple touch was enough to make Plaifah's heart race. Their lips separated just as the bathroom door opened. Plaifah whispered with a teasing smile. Exciting, wasn't it? It really was. Instead of sitting back on the floor, Plaifah climbed onto the bed beside Hua Tu. By the time Jimmy came out, he had already curled onto his side with sleepy eyes. Rest for a bit. We'll drink more later. If you rest now. Jimmy smiled. Won't that become a very long nap, Fa? Plaifah ignored the question. He simply rolled over and pretended to be asleep. The dip in the mattress woke Hua Tu slightly. Still dazed, he looked at Jimmy, then at Teh, only to realize he'd somehow ended up lying the wrong way across the bed. Mumbling to himself, he slowly turned around until his head rested properly on the pillow again. Teh raised an eyebrow. Good. It looked like Hua Tu hadn't noticed what had happened earlier. He had no desire for his older brother to see that side of him. As Hua Tu settled back down, Teh met Plaifah's eyes. He would bet anything. Plaifah wasn't drunk at all. Teh picked up another can and lowered his voice toward Jimmy. The short people have completely occupied the bed. Just let them sleep there. Jimmy shrugged. It's warmer sleeping with more people. You take the bed. Teh grinned. I'll sleep on the floor. You can sleep right beside your beloved Fa. Just like in those Korean dramas. As long as only your mind stays stiff. The rest of you doesn't need to. I'm telling PTO. Jimmy pointed accusingly. He should know you're nothing like the good person you pretend to be. Humph. Teh finished the last can. I'm sleeping. I'm driving tomorrow. Not wanting Jimmy to shoulder all the work, Teh had volunteered to drive back to Bangkok the following day. He drained the final mouthful of beer before taking a pillow from the bed and placing it on the floor. His sleeping spot happened to be beside Plaifah. They lay with their backs facing each other. Jimmy quietly gathered the empty cans and rubbish. With no one left to drink with, he stopped as well. Not long afterward, the lights were switched off. The room fell into darkness. As Teh settled comfortably onto the floor, he noticed Jimmy standing beside the bed. He had assumed Jimmy would simply lie down beside Plaifah. Instead, Jimmy climbed onto the opposite side. Hua Tu lay sleeping between them. Apparently Hua Tu had rolled around so much that there was no room left beside Plaifah. The other side was against the wall. Perhaps Jimmy thought Teh was already asleep and didn't want to wake him. Otherwise, he might have offered Teh the bed instead, or slept on the floor himself. Because maybe Jimmy liked Hua Tu now. Who could ever be certain about another person's heart? Perhaps his feelings had shifted from Plaifah to Hua Tu. who wore his affection far too openly. Anyone could see Hwada liked Jimmy. Surely, Jimmy knew as well. The room fell completely silent. Only the hum of the air conditioner and the steady rhythm of sleeping breaths remained. Teh closed his eyes. Then, something gently poked his cheek. He opened them. Plaifah was looking at him, completely awake. Moving carefully so the bed barely shook, Plaifah quietly climbed down. He squeezed into the narrow space in front of Teh. Their bodies naturally brushed together. Teh's breathing became uneven. He let out a slow breath while staring into those bright eyes glowing in the darkness. Heat spread through his body. Whether it came from the alcohol or from Plaifah, he couldn't tell. Plaifah smelled wonderful. His natural scent mixed with the faint fragrance of shampoo. It was comforting and dangerously alluring. Fast saw you at a club before. Teh blinked. Really? More than once. Plaifah smiled. Many times. You always left with different people. He paused before asking softly. So tell Fah, have you never wanted a serious relationship? I did. Teh answered honestly. Once. But I don't really know what it feels like to love someone. Every time. It's only attraction. The excitement of touching someone. When that feeling fades, so does everything else. If I can't love someone with everything I have, I'd rather stay alone. If it isn't wholehearted, can it really be called love? Plaifah nodded thoughtfully. He quietly repeated Teh's words to himself. So, if you met someone you could love with your whole heart, but they didn't love you back, would you still be okay? I'd just be grateful. Teh smiled faintly. That I was able to love someone at all. Silence settled between them. Hwada suddenly let out a sleepy grunt before rolling over. The blanket rustled softly. Then everything became quiet again. There wasn't much left to say. By morning, their conversation about love would probably be forgotten. Teh had already decided to stop talking. Apparently, Plaifah had something else in mind. He slowly climbed on top of Teh. His nose brushed lightly across Teh's forehead, then the bridge of his nose, his cheeks, before their lips finally met. The kiss began gently, but Plaifah quickly lost his patience. His teasing tongue slipped between Teh's lips, tangling eagerly with his. His beautifully shaped mouth sucked hard on Teh's lower lip until it stung. The quiet sounds of kissing gradually grew louder. A soft moan escaped Plaifah's throat before he could stop it. There were other people in the room. He couldn't let anyone wake up. This was supposed to remain nothing more than a secret, one they would both eventually forget. Teh slipped one arm beneath Plaifah's back, lifting him slightly so he could kiss him more deeply. Every kiss tasted sweet. Every shared breath sweeter still. Teh felt certain he swallowed every trace of that sweetness. As his lips wandered lower, the fragrant curve of Plaifah's neck tempted him. He gently nipped the tip of one ear before kissing the hollow beneath it. Plaifah shivered. Sometimes Teh kissed him. Sometimes he bit him. Yet he remained careful enough not to leave any visible marks. His free hand slipped beneath Plaifah's shirt, slowly caressing the warm skin of his stomach. His fingertips circled the soft skin around his navel before gliding upward. When they reached his chest, he began teasing the sensitive nipples with slow, deliberate strokes. Plaifah arched helplessly. His thighs rubbed against Teh's stronger legs, even through their trousers. The unmistakable heat between them pressed together. Plaifah kissed him hungrily. When their lips finally parted, a thin strand of saliva stretched between them. Teh's hand tightened against his waist, kneading the slender body until it trembled. Plaifah lay languidly beneath him, his back against the floor. His sleep shirt had ridden up almost to his chest. Cool air brushed across damp skin. The teasing kisses and gentle bites left his chest tingling. He writhed beneath Teh, struggling to keep his soft moans quiet. His legs instinctively wrapped around Teh's thighs. His fingers dug tightly into Teh's back. Tears slowly gathered in the corners of his eyes. He bit down on his lip. Teh's wandering hand slipped beneath the waistband of his trousers. His lips closed around one sensitive nipple, while his thumb gently teased the tip of his arousal. Pleasure struck so intensely that Plaifah nearly stopped breathing. A small amount of slick warmth gathered beneath Teh's fingers. Teh stroked him slowly, steadily, without mercy. Plaifah arched off the floor, hips lifting instinctively into every touch. Warm tears escaped the corners of his eyes. His mind had gone completely blank. Teh finally left his chest, returning to claim his lips once more, swallowing every trembling sound that threatened to escape. If anyone ever asked, Teh would probably admit that Plaifah was different. He had never intended to treat him so roughly. But the flushed skin, the trembling body, the desperate attempts to stay quiet, only made him want to tease him more. And then even more. Their tongues tangled fiercely. The rhythm of the kiss matched every deliberate stroke of Teh's hand. Without meaning to, Teh bit Plaifah's lip. The scent of beer lingered on both their breaths. Teh's hand quickened slightly. Short nails dug sharply into his back. Plaifah's body grew taut. His breathing became ragged. He was close. Teh gave several final strokes. Warm release spilled into his waiting hand. Only after Plaifah had relaxed completely did Teh gently use that warmth to prepare him further. Plaifah tugged his own waistband down to his ankles. In the dim light, Teh caught a brief glimpse of smooth, inviting skin. Even after climaxing, Plaifah still looked irresistible. His breathing remained uneven, yet he spread his legs a little wider without hesitation. Teh watched in silence. His fingertips moved with patient care until Plaifah finally relaxed beneath him. When he finished, he withdrew his hand and absent-mindedly licked his fingers clean. Plaifah wiped the sweat from his face before looping his arms around Teh's neck as he leaned closer. Teh pushed his own trousers down just enough before opening a condom with practiced ease. Plaifah watched every movement. He couldn't help noticing how large Teh was. Intimidating, yet strangely exciting. He found himself wondering how it would feel. Teh brushed himself lightly against him, spreading warmth between them. Plaifah's slender legs wrapped around Teh's waist as Teh lifted him slightly from the floor. Teh entered only a little at first, then withdrew. Again and again. Each slow retreat drew a soft, reluctant sound from Plaifah's lips. Every movement only heightened the tension between them. Teh. His voice trembled. Don't tease Fah anymore. Plaifah drew Teh closer, rubbing lightly against his chin in silent pleading. Warm breaths brushed against Teh's neck. Teh smiled faintly. His own restraint was reaching its limit. He could no longer remain gentle. With one decisive movement, he finally closed the distance between them. Plaifah gasped sharply. His eyes widened. Tears slipped freely down his cheeks as he buried his face against Teh's shoulder. Does it hurt? Plaifah slowly shook his head. As they moved together, Teh's voice grew unexpectedly gentle. For the first time, Plaifah wondered what kind of person Teh truly was. Cold, heartless, or someone warm enough to melt another person completely. The unfamiliar sensation was overwhelming at first, almost painful, but gradually, their movements found the same rhythm. Perhaps Teh was simply the sort of person who gave everything he had to whatever he chose to do. Even now, everything about him was wholehearted. He remained careful not to make too much noise. Every movement was controlled, measured, yet impossibly deep. It felt less like restraint, and more like exquisite torture. Plaifah couldn't help wondering, if Teh ever stopped holding back, just how overwhelming he would truly be. In the darkness, Teh's body completely shielded Plaifah from view. They moved together in slow, steady rhythm. Occasionally, they whispered to each other. The words were too soft to make out. On the bed, someone's eyes suddenly opened. Huatu. He had awakened almost as soon as Plaifah climbed down. He had never intended to discover Teh and Plaifah's secret like this. His hands clutched tightly at the blanket. Although he was older than Teh, he knew almost nothing about intimacy. He didn't want to listen. Yet every muffled sound only stirred his curiosity. Like a child, he wanted to turn around. His heart pounded. His imagination ran wild until his head spun. Unable to resist any longer, he finally started to turn. Strong arms suddenly wrapped around him first. A whisper reached his ear. Don't look. Jim, I'll cover your ears. Jimmy gently pulled Huatu against his chest. Both hands covered his ears, shielding him from the sounds filling the room. Huatu slowly lifted his face. At that exact moment, Jimmy looked down at him. Heat flooded Huatu's cheeks. Just meeting Jimmy's eyes made him even more flustered. His thoughts must have gone completely wrong. Why else would he keep imagining? What if it were him instead of Plaifah? What if it were Jimmy instead of Teh? Embarrassed, Huatu buried his face against Jimmy's broad chest. Pressed so closely against him, he could clearly hear Jimmy's heartbeat. Jimmy tightened his embrace, so tightly that Huatu could barely breathe. Before he could react, Jimmy gently lifted Huatu's chin, then lowered his own face. Their lips met. The kiss was sudden, rough, almost reckless. At first, Hwata resisted, but in the end, he couldn't. His hands found Jimmy's waist, gripping instinctively. Jimmy finally pulled away, breathing hard. Near Hwatu's ear, he whispered hoarsely, "I'm sorry, PTO. I just really wanted to kiss you." Chapter 6. Think. Think a lot more. Hwata didn't know when Teh and Plaifah's lovemaking had ended. He only knew that after everything had quieted down, he couldn't make himself fall asleep because of Teh and Plaifah, and because of himself and Jimmy. His mind was filled with so many thoughts that he stayed awake for most of the night. As for Teh and Plaifah, he had already reached a conclusion. If the two of them truly liked each other, perhaps there wouldn't be any problems. As for himself and Jimmy, other than apologizing for his misunderstanding, Hwata couldn't think of anything else he could do. After the tall young man's possessive kiss, Hwata remained in Jimmy's embrace for a while longer. When Teh's movements finally stopped, the warm arms around him loosened. Jimmy returned to his original position, lying on his side with his back turned. A little later, Plaifah got up to use the bathroom before returning to the bed to sleep beside him. After that, Teh went to the bathroom as well. Hwata heard his younger brother softly say, "Sleep well, Fah," and then everything fell silent. It was probably close to dawn before Hwata finally drifted off. He woke groggily to someone gently shaking him. Opening his eyes, he found Teh standing over him. "Wake up. Hungover, PTO? My head hurts so much." It felt like he had only just fallen asleep. Hwata didn't sit up immediately. Instead, he rolled over and clutched his aching head. The bed was empty now. Someone was in the bathroom, though he couldn't tell who. Where is everyone? Jim's taking a shower, and Fah already went back to his own room to shower. I thought you'd be the one waking everyone up, but you ended up being the last person awake. Who got up first? Fah. Last night Hwata was about to explain that he'd stayed up because he couldn't sleep, but as his mind cleared, he caught himself just in time. I was really drunk last night. My mind completely blanked out. With how much you drank, that's only natural. Everyone's suffering because I got you drunk, PTO. It's true. Picking on an old man. I'm furious. Oh, come on. Teh laughed naturally, acting as though Hwata knew nothing about him and Plaifah. Hwata also pretended everything was normal, even though his mind was full of questions about the side of Teh he had never seen before. Smiling, Hwata reached over and pinched Teh's cheek, pulling it until his mouth twisted. Ow. That hurts, PTO. You seem awfully happy today. Something good happened. The words "sleep well," Fah, kept replaying in Hwatu's mind, making it impossible not to wonder how far Teh's relationship had progressed. As he released Teh's cheek, Jimmy stepped out of the bathroom. The tall man wasn't wearing a shirt, only a pair of well-fitted, earthy gray trousers. He had just washed his hair, and droplets of water still clung to the damp strands. A towel rested across his shoulders, while the well-defined muscles of his body hinted at someone who exercised regularly. Hwatu's face immediately flushed. He stared at Jimmy, fidgeting nervously, unable to guess what Jimmy was thinking about after last night. About Teh, and about their kiss. Mouth to mouth. Just thinking about it. I'm going crazy. Jimmy, however, said nothing. His handsome face remained perfectly calm. Seeing the brothers chatting on the bed, he simply walked away, casually rubbing his damp hair with the towel over his shoulders without paying them much attention. Teh waved a hand in front of Hwatu's face, blocking his view. How can a proper young lady stare at a shirtless man like that? You little brat. Hey, Jimmy, hurry up and put on a shirt before my brother loses his innocence. Isn't it already too late? Jimmy replied teasingly. Teh tossed a pillow at him, but Jimmy dodged it with ease. Hwata became even more restless. Lose his innocence. Lose his innocence. Hurry up and put on a shirt. My innocent brother has to look at a shameless man. Do you know how innocent PTO is? During a love scene, he even closed his eyes when they kissed. This time, Hwata couldn't take it anymore. He gave Teh a light smack on the back to stop him from talking nonsense. You're exaggerating, Teh. I closed my eyes because I was shy and caught up in the moment, not because I'm that innocent. Someone who's never had a lover at your age. What else would you call them besides innocent? Hwata raised his hand, ready to smack Teh again. His younger brother really did say whatever came into his head, especially in front of Jimmy, who had taken his first kiss. Not everyone is as shameless and scoundrel-like as you are, Teh. So you've picked a side, Jim? You're defending PTO. Jimmy sprayed on some perfume. He sounded as though he was joking, but there was more meaning behind his words. Calling Teh a scoundrel wasn't just a joke. He acted as though he knew nothing, despite knowing everything. He had said he liked Plaifah. He had said he was serious. Yet that bastard Teh had slept with Fah behind his back. Scoundrel, don't call yourself my friend. Enough arguing. PTO, you should go back to your room so you can shower and get dressed. Hua sighed helplessly. Pulling the blanket off himself, he lowered his feet onto the cool floor beside the bed. His head still felt heavy from too little sleep and the lingering effects of alcohol. As he stood, Teh placed a hand against his back to steady him. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine. Hua rubbed his face before finding his balance and walking out of the room. Jimmy barely watched him leave. He felt nothing about the kiss that had happened on impulse. No excitement. No guilt. No love. He'd simply wanted to kiss him. So he had. You really love your brother, don't you? Because PTO has always been so good to me. I love him, and I respect him. I even used to think that if PTO never found a lover or got married, I'd stay with him forever. And you wouldn't want anyone else? Maybe I'm just cursed to be someone who can't truly love anyone. You're exaggerating. Think about it, Jim. Since I was born, I've never loved anyone so much that I couldn't live without them. Teh flopped onto the bed and lay on his back. Turning his head, he watched Jimmy getting dressed in front of the mirror. Jimmy wore a fitted white t-shirt beneath a light green overshirt. I want to know what it feels like to like someone so much that it hurts, just once. He sighed. Sometimes I want to try something different. That's a nice shirt. We can share shirts. Huh. But there are some things that shouldn't be shared. Teh blinked slowly before turning back to stare at the ceiling. He lazily swung one foot, true to his easygoing nature, without giving the comment much thought. The shirt you're wearing looks good on you, but I don't think it'd suit me at all. Jim, wait. A gentle voice called out just before Jimmy reached his car. He turned around. The moment he heard the voice, he already knew it was Hua Tu. Jimmy raised an eyebrow slightly, silently asking whether Hua Tu needed something else. They had only said goodbye about half an hour earlier after returning to Bangkok. Hua Tu hurried over, half walking, half jogging, carrying a large cardboard box. It wasn't for Jimmy. It was filled with cat treats and nutritional supplements for Saint-Si, Hua Tu's cat. Smiling brightly, the deep dimple in his cheek appeared as he quickly explained. I bought these for Saint-Si. I meant to give them to you after we got back from the trip. I almost forgot. Oh, thank you. That's a lot. Jimmy accepted the box. Hua Tu really had bought a considerable amount for Saint-Si. Jimmy had to hold the box with both hands, making it awkward to open the car door. Could you do me a favor, PTO? Could you open the back door for me? Of course. Hua Tu quickly walked over and held the rear door open while Jimmy carefully placed everything inside. Once he had finished, Hua Tu closed the door for him. The two of them stood facing each other. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. Hua Tu fell silent, trying to hide his embarrassment. Jimmy, meanwhile, wasn't sure what he should say. Throughout the day, they had spoken only a few words to each other. Naturally, neither of them had mentioned what happened the previous night. Teh and Plaifah had also behaved as though nothing had happened. Perhaps Jimmy was the only one who still felt awkward about everything. He hadn't thought about Hua Tu. He hadn't thought about anything. Not until now. Standing in front of Hua Tu, Jimmy lowered his gaze to the ground for a moment, lost in thought before slowly looking back up. PTO. Yes. About last night. I'm sorry. He apologized for kissing Hua Tu. Even so, he felt no guilt. Last night, he'd acted on nothing more than a fleeting impulse. Since Teh was involved with Plaifah, the person Jimmy liked, he'd decided to get involved with someone Teh cared about. PTO. What happened between Teh and Plaifah was their own business. He had no right to interfere. He understood that perfectly. But whatever happened between him and PTO was his own business as well. Or rather, Teh had no right to interfere. And if what he did happened to hurt Teh a little, then so much the better. The apology was simply to smooth things over. If Hua Tu was innocent, then he himself had to be the exact opposite. If a single kiss had shaken PTO this much, then it seemed Hua Tu really did like him. You were drunk, Jim. No, it's all right. I wasn't drunk. Jimmy looked directly at him. But PTO's lips were worth kissing. Just like Fa said, PTO is someone who deserves to be ravished. Do you hate me? Huh, I'm asking if PTO hates me for kissing you. Hwada shook his head, feeling as though his soul had left his body after hearing Jimmy's words. His lips were worth kissing. He deserved to be ravished. If you don't hate me, then, PTO, do you like me at all? PTO. PTO. I heard you. Hwada clasped his hands awkwardly against his chest. He shifted from side to side, stealing nervous glances at the man watching him intently, waiting for an answer. His lips trembled, and he had to consciously stop them from shaking. He wasn't as innocent as Teh claimed. He had fallen in love before, although it had been a long time ago. It had been a childish sort of love. Walking home together. Stopping for ice cream. But Jimmy was different. There was an intensity about him that made Hwada feel he had to be careful not to get burned. I like you. His voice was barely above a whisper. I've liked you since the first time we met. The moment the words left his mouth, his whole body felt as though it were on fire. Seeing him continue to fidget, Jimmy reached out and held both of his shoulders still. Then, shall we try dating? Would that really be okay? It will. Jimmy paused. But don't tell anyone yet, PTO. Let's keep our relationship a secret for now, all right? Don't tell Teh either. Jim, are you sure you want to try dating me? I only like you. I haven't even thought beyond that. If you don't actually like me, that's okay. Of course I like you. Jimmy answered naturally. I like PTO. I do the same things every day. I'm really boring. I don't know whether I'd suit someone like you. You probably prefer someone more interesting. Hwada lowered his head even further, unable to meet Jimmy's eyes. The smile he'd been wearing disappeared. His lips straightened. Even his eyes seemed strangely empty. Jimmy asking him out should have made him happy. But the hand resting on his shoulder tightened slightly. That's exactly why I said we should try dating. What should I do? We'll figure it out little by little. A faint smile tugged at Jimmy's lips. Trying to reassure Hwada was exhausting. Well, it was his own fault for cornering him so suddenly. Jimmy let go of Hwada's shoulders and straightened up. Are you leaving now? Yeah. He nodded. You should head inside and get some rest. I'll stay until you leave. Hwada smiled gently. Tease with Plaifah. I want those two to have a little more time together. All right. Go on. We'll talk on the phone later. Plaifah's coming out. Jimmy instinctively stood a little straighter as he looked towards the front door. Plaifah emerged from the house, smiling brightly. Before he even reached them, he called out. PTO. I'm heading home now. Leaving already? How are you getting back? I'll just call a taxi from the entrance. Plaifah replied cheerfully, radiating confidence, as always. Hwada was just about to ask Jimmy to give Plaifah a lift when Jimmy spoke first. Would you like me to drive you home, Fa? That'd be great. Just taking me to the entrance would be enough. Are you heading straight home? Where do you live? If it isn't too far, I can drive you all the way. Just as Plaifah reached for the car door, he frowned slightly before giving his address. Hwada quietly watched the two of them. All of a sudden, he felt left out. Jimmy seemed far more interested in taking Plaifah home than paying attention to the person standing right beside him. I live around XXX. That's not far. My condo's across the road from there. I'll take you all the way home. Then I'll trouble you. Plaifah grinned. PTO, I'm off now. I'll come bother you again soon. He waved goodbye jokingly before squeezing into Jimmy's car. After Plaifah shut the door, Hwada looked back at Jimmy. I'm leaving now. Jimmy walked around the front of the car and climbed into the driver's seat. Hwada smiled as he watched the car, but it was a forced smile. He rubbed the back of his neck. Because he'd hesitated for too long, he never got to say it. Drive safely. Standing with one hand on his hip, Hwada remained rooted to the spot. So, were he and Jimmy dating now? Eventually, his motionless legs carried him back towards the house. He walked slowly, even though what he really wanted was to run inside and shout at Teh that he had a boyfriend now. But he couldn't. Jimmy had asked him to keep it a secret. Were they really dating? Had he actually agreed just now? If he never clearly said yes, did that still count? PTO? PTO? Why are you spacing out? Huh? Come have dinner. You don't need to cook today. You look exhausted. Are you feeling sick? Just hungover. Hwada answered briefly. His caring younger brother, who was drinking water in the kitchen, smiled and shook his head. Since it was only the two of them at home, Teh pulled off his shirt. Apparently, he hadn't noticed the long fingernail scratches running across his back. Seeing them made Hua feel awkward. He had no intention of mentioning them, so he simply walked over to the sofa, sat down, and then stretched out wearily. Hey. Yeah. How are things with Fa? How should I explain it to you, PTO? Tay sat down beside him. The two brothers had never really kept secrets from each other, and he wondered whether other siblings were the same. He scratched lightly at the end of one eyebrow. Go on. I'm listening. Hua yawned. I think I'm about to fall asleep. Well, Tay hesitated. I don't think anything between me and Fa is possible. What do you mean? I don't understand. I think Jim misunderstood and thought I liked Fa. You don't like him at all? He's cute. Tay shrugged. But I don't really like him like that. Hua blinked. Sleepiness battled with complete confusion. Even though he was older than Tay, when it came to relationships, he felt far more immature than his younger brother. Don't really like him. Then why? Why would two people who didn't love each other sleep together? Love wasn't necessary. Desire alone was enough. Was that what it meant? Maintaining his manners, Hua chose not to ask about what had happened between Teh and Plaifah, continuing to pretend he knew nothing. And what about you and Jim? Nothing. I don't want PTO to like Jim. Teh smiled faintly. But I probably can't stop you, can I? Hua gently nudged T's thigh with his foot before resting his leg across his brother's lap. Without a word, Teh began massaging it. If you're giving me a massage, what do you want in return? I want PTO to treat me to dinner. Really? A huge feast. Something extravagant. I'm starving. Hua laughed and tossed his phone over to him. Pulling his foot back, he rolled onto his side to find a more comfortable position. Order whatever you want. Is there anyone in this world kinder than my Hua? Hua closed his eyes with an exasperated smile. Not long afterwards, he drifted off to sleep. It wasn't until early evening that Tay gently woke him so they could have dinner together. Chapter 7. Being a good person doesn't guarantee good things in return. 10:30 at night. 10:30 was late enough to make someone worry. Hua leaned back in the office chair in his bedroom, nervously biting his nails until they were short and uneven. In front of him sat a minimalist wooden desk with only a few neatly arranged items. His mobile phone rested on top of a stack of books. He had no idea how long he'd been staring at the screen. He couldn't decide whether he should send Jimmy a message or simply call. Had Jimmy made it home safely? Did Sain-C like the treats? Had he played with the new toys? There were so many small things he wanted to ask. Finally, Hua stopped chewing on his thumbnail. After letting out a deep sigh, he decided to call. Without even picking up the phone, he unlocked the screen, opened his contacts, and pressed Jimmy's name. He switched the call to speaker. Ring, ring. Each ringing tone made his heart pound harder. At last, the call connected. Hua unconsciously licked his lips. His cheeks warmed the instant he heard Jimmy's voice. Yeah. It's PTO. I know it's PTO. I saved your number. Jimmy's voice carried a hint of amusement. What is it? Did you call about something? Only then did Hua realize how silly his greeting had been. Of course Jimmy knew who was calling. His name would have appeared on the screen. Why had he introduced himself? I just wanted to ask if you got home safely. I've been home for quite a while. That's good. He smiled faintly. The treats I gave Sain-C, did he like them? The treats? Yes. I think I left them in the car. Oh, I stopped to have dinner with Fa and completely forgot about them. I see. Hua suddenly didn't know what to say. Earlier that evening, he'd invited both Plaifah and Jimmy to have dinner together. Both had declined. Plaifah said he wasn't hungry yet. Jimmy had said he already had plans. If he already had plans, why had he ended up having dinner with Plaifah instead? Could he ask? You said you already had plans with a friend. Why did you go with Fa instead? My friend canceled at the last minute, so I invited Fa. Jimmy's playful tone faded into something more serious. After a brief pause, he called softly. PTO. Next time, don't pry. Jimmy spoke calmly. I want us to have our own personal space. Hua pursed his lips. His brows slowly knitted together. I'm sorry. His voice was quiet. I won't pry again. If they were dating, didn't he have the right to know where his boyfriend was? Or who he was with? Are you going to bed already? Not yet. It's only a little after 10. All right. Jimmy paused. Wait a minute. I'll be right back. Before Hua could ask what he meant, the call ended. He rested his chin on one hand and stared blankly at the dark phone screen, unable to explain the strange feeling inside him. He absent-mindedly scrolled through his phone. Waiting. Meanwhile, after hanging up, Jimmy tossed his phone onto the bed. He stood abruptly and headed for the door. His condominium's parking area was quite far from his unit. The lift ride down took a considerable amount of time. Only then did he realize he'd left his phone upstairs. That had been a mistake. Walking all the way down by himself was surprisingly lonely. Maybe he should have asked PTO to stay on the call while he went to retrieve what he'd forgotten. It would have been a good excuse to get a little closer. Running a hand through his hair, Jimmy unlocked his car and lifted Hua-Tu's cardboard box from the back seat. It was surprisingly heavy. Besides Saint-C's treats, there had to be something else inside. Probably toys. He could hear faint rattling through the sealed box. Maybe a ball, or one of those feather teaser wands. After locking the car again, Jimmy picked up the box. The moment he noticed the little cat drawings covering the outside, he smiled. The sketches looked exactly like Saint-C. He shook his head. PTO clearly didn't realize how destructive his cat was around cardboard. If he simply left the box on the floor, Saint-C would reduce it to shredded pieces within minutes. Jimmy carried the box upstairs. As expected, Saint-C repeatedly tried to attack it. Sometimes Jimmy managed to stop him. Sometimes he didn't. In the end, he decided he should video call PTO and complain a little. Still carrying the box, Jimmy searched for his phone. The moment he found it, he immediately started a video call. Unlike Hua-Tu, he didn't hesitate or feel shy. The call connected almost instantly. Jimmy had no idea that Hua-Tu had been waiting beside his phone the entire time because of the words, "I'll be right back." Saint-C found something suspicious. Without any greeting, Jimmy pointed the camera towards the chewed corner of the cardboard box. PTO, look. He's already eating the box. He walked around for a better angle before setting down the phone. Holding the damaged corner close to the camera, he showed Hua-Tu the evidence. Seeing the state of the box, Hua-Tu burst into laughter. A broad, genuine smile. One that somehow made Jimmy feel strangely at ease. Whenever Hua-Tu smiled, his own irritation seemed to disappear. The food's inside, Saint-C. Hua-Tu laughed through the screen. So why are you eating the box? I tried to save it. Jimmy sighed dramatically. But he's too smart. He even scratched me. Oh. Hua-Tu's eyes widened. Does it hurt? He leaned closer to inspect the white scratch marks across Jimmy's forearm. I'm used to it. Jimmy smiled. He didn't mean to scratch me. He was playing with the box, and I accidentally got in the way. He looked down at the drawings. The cats on this box are really cute. I wanted to keep it. He glanced back at the camera. I recognized your drawing style immediately. Did you draw them yourself? Hua-Tu nodded. You don't have to keep the box. Inside there's a ceramic food bowl. I painted a design on it. I hope you like it. Jimmy stepped away from the camera to grab a utility knife. He carefully cut through the packing tape before opening the box. Inside were treats, toys, a food bowl, a water bowl. No wonder the box had been so large and heavy. This is too much, PTO. He picked up Saint-C and held him in front of the camera. Come on. He gently bounced the cat's paws. Thank your mother. Hua-Tu laughed so hard he nearly doubled over. Moments later, Saint-C disappeared from view after Jimmy rolled one of the new balls across the floor. The cat immediately sprinted after it. Every now and then, it darted back into the camera frame. What were you doing, Jim? You mean now? Jimmy grinned. Or before you called? Before. Hua-Tu smiled sheepishly. That's not prying, is it? No. Jimmy shook his head. I was playing a game before you called. And now? I'm not doing anything. He tilted his head. What about you? What are you doing? Nothing. Hua-Tu rested his chin in both hands. I was just looking through cake recipes. The cakes you make are already delicious. Jimmy answered sincerely. Believe me, when someone who normally doesn't eat sweets praises them, that means they're really good. When the shop opens, Hua-Tu smiled brightly. You'll have to come often. I'll feed you until you can't move. How about opening a cat cafe instead? Jimmy laughed. You can make Saint-C the mascot. If I do, Hua-Tu smiled mischievously. Teh and I will keep him. So T's going to steal everything that belongs to me? Jimmy asked with a faint smile. Then he changed the subject. Are you free this Saturday? No. I have to inspect the shop and train the staff. Why? I wanted to invite you out. Jimmy smiled. There's an excellent faux restaurant near my condo. I want you to try it. I'm free in the evening. Jimmy chuckled. As soon as food's involved, suddenly you're available. Hua-Tu laughed softly. His chin still rested in his hands, his eyes sparkling without him even realizing. I'm actually a little hungry right now. Didn't you eat dinner? I accidentally fell asleep this afternoon. They woke me up for dinner, but I was still half asleep. So I barely ate anything. Should I order you something? It's late. Eating this late isn't very healthy. If you're worried about getting fat, Jimmy lifted one hand, estimating Huatu's waist. Don't. Your waist's only about this big. The memory of hugging Huatu the previous night flashed through his mind. He remembered how small he was, how pleasantly he smelled. Jimmy raised an eyebrow. He wanted to hold Huatu again. Stop talking nonsense. Huatu lowered his head, completely flustered. Jimmy smiled. But you really are tiny. I am hanging up. I'm going to take a shower and sleep. If you get lonely, Jimmy said gently, or can't sleep, you can call me. We'll arrange another date before Saturday. He smiled. But if I miss you before then, I'll come to your house. Is that all right? His voice softened into something almost pleading. He blinked at Huatu. Embarrassed beyond words, Huatu nodded. If you want to come, you can. If you're tired, I can come to you instead. Jimmy laughed. You really do like me. So adorable. My clever PTO. That's enough. Huatu covered his burning face. What do you mean, my clever one? I'm hanging up now. He waved goodbye before ending the call. Jimmy sat there smiling for quite a while. Eventually, he lay down on the floor. He picked up Sane C and settled the cat comfortably on his chest, absent-mindedly stroking the soft fur. He didn't love Huatu, but he couldn't deny one thing. Talking to him always made him smile. It always made him feel comfortable. How long would this relationship last? They were completely different people. He honestly didn't know. Still, as long as Teh felt hurt because Jimmy had taken his brother, that was enough. PTO isn't eating at home tonight. Teh turned his gaming chair to look at Huatu, who had just opened the bedroom door and poked his head inside. It was unusual for Huatu to eat out. That alone felt strange. Still, Huatu wasn't a child. He was older than Teh, more experienced. Going out wasn't unusual. Teh had been playing games all night. He hadn't slept at all. I've got plans. Huatu looked at him. Have you slept yet? Don't tell me you've been gaming until morning. It's my day off. Teh stretched lazily. I've been exhausted all week. Give me a break. He grinned. Are you heading out to inspect the shop and train the staff? You should get some sleep. If Mom and Dad saw you like this, they'd definitely smack you. That's why I stay here. Teh laughed. It's much more comfortable living with you. He finished another game. Will you be home late? Probably not. What about you? Going anywhere? I'll sleep first. Teh yawned. We'll talk later. Huatu sighed heavily. Watching his younger brother stumble from the gaming chair straight onto the bed made him want to smack him. Not only hadn't Teh slept, he hadn't even showered. You still haven't showered. I'll sleep first. We'll talk later. You're planning to go out tonight looking like that? Huatu shook his head. You're filthy, you little brat. Instead of being offended, Teh only grinned wider. Huatu gave up arguing. He quietly closed the bedroom door and left Teh to enjoy his holiday however he pleased. His thoughts drifted to Jimmy. During the past week, he'd seen him twice. Jimmy had stopped by the house after dropping Teh home because of the rain. The three of them had chatted casually. Nothing romantic. Nothing intimate. Teh had been there the whole time. It was the season when the rainy weather slowly gave way to cooler days. Even on a Saturday morning, rain continued to fall in a light drizzle. For someone staying home like Teh, it was perfect. For someone with work to do, it was simply troublesome. Huatu picked up an umbrella from the woven rattan basket near the door. His hands were already full. One held the umbrella. The other carried a folder full of documents. Closing the front door was difficult enough. He had to use his foot. Opening the umbrella would probably be even harder. Just as he was about to do so, his eyes caught sight of a familiar car. A familiar fragrance drifted through the rain. Jimmy's usual cologne. Huatu turned instinctively, only for a hand to gently press against the back of his neck, stopping him. A tall shadow fell over him. He didn't need to look. He already knew who it was. Someone much taller than him. Someone whose scent was strangely comforting. Jimmy, if I were a snake. Jimmy teased softly. You would have been bitten already. Didn't you notice me? I really didn't. Huatu smiled sheepishly. I was too busy thinking about how to carry these documents and hold the umbrella at the same time. Jimmy released him. His eyes moved from the folder to the umbrella, then a mischievous smile spread across his face. Without warning, He took the umbrella from Hua Tu's hand and opened it. Like this. He held it over both of them. If I carry the umbrella, you can carry the documents. Hua nodded. But why are you here so early? Did you come to see Teh? Jimmy looked straight into his eyes. I came to see my boyfriend. I missed you. Your face is completely red. Jimmy chuckled. You're so easy to read whenever you're embarrassed. Hua hugged the document folder tightly against his chest and looked away. He glanced up at the drizzle instead. One foot stepped forward. Jimmy matched the pace with a single step of his own. We're walking to my car. He smiled. Not yours. What do you mean? Jimmy laughed. What do you mean? He raised an eyebrow. Do you really not know? Or are you pretending not to know? That I plan on sticking to you all day? I know. Hua admitted quietly. He continued walking. Not towards his own car, but towards Jimmy's, parked neatly beside the outer wall of the house. That spot had quietly become Jimmy's regular parking place whenever he visited. Jimmy walked beside him at the same slow pace. Normally, he hated wasting time. He rushed through everything. Unlike Hua, who moved calmly through life. Slowly, patiently. Yet, walking beside someone so unhurried didn't annoy him at all. Cold raindrops landed on Jimmy's shoulder. Without realizing it, he'd tilted the umbrella almost entirely over Hua. One of Jimmy's hands slipped into his trouser pocket. The rain soaked his shoulder, but he made no effort to move the umbrella back. He was carrying another umbrella in his free hand anyway. Chapter 8. Eating too much sugar is dangerous. That morning, Hua Tu's schedule began with the final inspection of the cafe's interior before construction was officially completed. Because of that, he arrived a little earlier than his appointment with the contractor. Jimmy's car was already parked neatly in the spacious car park. The contractor arrived only moments later. This was another side of Hua that Jimmy had never seen before. Watching Hua handle work with such calm professionalism was unexpectedly charming. Jimmy slipped one hand into the pocket of his cream-colored trousers. Today, Hua was dressed simply in cream trousers and a plain white crewneck t-shirt. The shirt was tucked neatly into his waistband, accentuating his slim waist. Hua pointed out small details around the shop, nodding as he spoke with the contractor. The cafe looked almost ready to open. Both the interior and exterior were nearly complete. The whole place felt warm and inviting. Jimmy could already imagine the aroma of fresh coffee and pastries filling the space. Somehow, the scent he imagined reminded him of Hua. Jimmy folded his arms and crossed one long leg over the other. The powerful air conditioning made him feel a little cold. Sitting alone at one of the brand-new tables left him with an unexpected feeling of loneliness. Perhaps he'd been staring at Hua for too long. Suddenly, Hua looked over. Their eyes met. Jimmy didn't look away. Instead, Hua was the first to lower his gaze. Despite being older, Hua somehow looked younger than he did. After talking with the contractor for a little longer, Hua finally walked over. A warm smile spread across his face. One Jimmy had never seen before. Were you bored? There was genuine concern in his voice. Jimmy shook his head. Not really. Even though he had been. Finished talking? There are still a few things they need to adjust. When you're working? Jimmy smiled. You're really serious, PTO? Hua simply raised an eyebrow in response. Glancing at his watch, he realized Jimmy had waited almost 2 hours without complaining. Morning had quietly turned into almost noon. Perhaps because of the rain outside, the sky still looked dark and gloomy. It's nearly lunchtime. Hua smiled. Let's go eat. There should be some good restaurants nearby. Do you know anywhere? I'll treat. Then dinner's on me. Hua blinked. How could I let someone younger pay? Jimmy smiled. It isn't fair for my boyfriend to pay every time. The moment Jimmy mentioned their relationship, Hua could only make a small sound. He had no idea how to respond. Jimmy uncrossed his legs. Then, without warning, he reached out and gently pulled Hua onto his lap. PTO froze. He didn't struggle. He didn't pull away. Jimmy cautiously wrapped one arm around Hua's narrow waist. It fit perfectly. Far too perfectly. Resting his nose against Hua's shoulder, he breathed in softly. Warm breaths brushed against the back of Hua's neck. Hua slowly relaxed. His body was no longer as tense. His hands hovered uncertainly in the air before finally settling on Jimmy's soft hair. He gently stroked it. Again and again, until Jimmy almost felt like a 10-year-old child. Without warning, Jimmy bit his shoulder. Ow. Hwada laughed. Why did you bite me? Because I'm annoyed. Annoyed about what? You treat me like a child. What? Hwada laughed even harder. I didn't mean it that way. His gentle strokes turned into playful ruffling until Jimmy's hair became a complete mess. Despite claiming to be angry, Jimmy was smiling. A wide, genuine smile. Then Hwada froze again. His gaze slowly settled on Jimmy's lips. Unconsciously, he remembered their first kiss. Jimmy noticed immediately. What are you staring at? I'm not. You want to kiss me? Hwada said nothing. Jimmy took his silence as permission. His arms tightened around Hwatu's waist. One hand slipped behind his neck, guiding him closer. Their lips met. Jimmy gently nibbled Hwatu's soft lower lip. He immediately felt Hwatu tremble in his embrace. There was no resistance. No rejection. Jimmy lightly brushed his tongue across Hwatu's lips before deepening the kiss. Hwatu slowly parted his lips. Jimmy's tongue slipped inside. Awkwardly. Shyly. Hwatu responded. Their tongues brushed together. Warm breaths mingled. Their kisses grew deeper. Longer. More demanding. Hwatu's heartbeat pounded so violently, he was certain Jimmy could hear it. He felt trapped from every direction. Jimmy finally pulled back. His voice was low. When your whole body turns red like this, you're unbelievably cute. Let's. Hwatu struggled to catch his breath. Let's go eat. Jimmy answered obediently, like a child listening to an adult. Yet, instead of standing up, he kissed Hwatu again, and again, and again, until Hwatu's body became completely limp in his arms. Weakly, Hwatu tapped Jimmy's chest in protest. His face had turned bright red. The color spread all the way down his neck. He really was someone who made people want to ravish him. That single thought was enough to make Jimmy feel uncomfortably aware of the secret hidden beneath his trousers. He quietly cursed himself. Taking a deep breath, he helped Hwatu to his feet. Let's eat. Jimmy cleared his throat. I feel like having pad thai. There's a good place nearby. They also serve made-to-order dishes. You can choose whatever you like. Standing upright hid his body's obvious reaction. Taking Hwatu gently by the wrist, Jimmy led him towards the exit. Not yet. Be patient. He'd assumed getting close to Hwatu would be difficult. Apparently, it wasn't difficult at all. Just a few kisses. Just warm breaths. And he'd already lost control. Hwatu walked unusually slowly. His legs felt weak. His soul seemed to have left his body. Fortunately, Jimmy slowed his pace to match him. Otherwise, Hwatu was certain he would have collapsed. Take an umbrella. Hwatu held one out. It looks like it'll rain all day. One umbrella's enough. Jimmy smiled. Why bring two? So you won't get soaked like this morning. Hwatu looked up at him. Thank you. For staying with me. And for getting wet so I wouldn't. You have a gentle side too, don't you? Jimmy accepted one of the umbrellas. A gentle side. Did he? He simply shook his head. It wasn't anything like that. Hwatu smiled brightly. His eyes shimmered with warmth. Their loosely joined hands tightened. Their fingers intertwined naturally. I like you. Hwatu smiled. I think I like you even more now. Jimmy froze. His thoughts went blank. He had never told Hwatu he liked him. Not the way Hwatu had confessed to him. Without thinking, Jimmy loosened their intertwined fingers. He opened the umbrella and started walking towards the car without waiting to see whether Hwatu followed quickly or slowly. A strange warmth spread quietly through his chest. Along with it came a dull ache. Guilt. He was deceiving someone who cared for him so sincerely. Dating him simply to ease his loneliness. Simply to lessen the pain in his own heart. It was guilt. Nothing more. It had to be. By the time Teh woke again, it was evening. Still half asleep, he noticed it was raining just as heavily as before he'd gone to bed. It had rained before he slept. It was still raining after he woke. A storm must have arrived. The rain showed no sign of stopping. Bare-chested, Teh sat up in bed. The clock read 6:40. He rubbed his face, trying to shake off the drowsiness. His stomach growled loudly. Hwatu wasn't home. Looks like dinner's up to me. With weather like this. Continuous rain. Flooded roads. Traffic jams. He had absolutely no desire to go anywhere. After showering and changing clothes, Teh grabbed his phone and headed downstairs. His first stop was the kitchen. Opening the refrigerator, he found the fresh vegetables and ingredients he'd bought with Hwatu a few days earlier. Rainy weather always made him crave instant noodles. Not just plain noodles. The kind Hwatu always made. Loaded with toppings. But What exactly went into them? Before he could figure it out, the doorbell rang. Closing the refrigerator, Teh frowned. Who could that be? If PTO forgot his keys, he would have called first. His long legs carried him quickly to the front door. The main entrance was never locked whenever someone was home. Opening the inner door, his frown immediately disappeared. Instead, his eyebrows lifted in surprise. Hey, Plaifah stood outside, partially soaked from the rain. He wasn't carrying an umbrella. Instead, he held a damp paper bag. How'd you get here? I had dinner with some relatives nearby. They've already gone home. I wasn't ready to leave yet, so I thought I'd stop by. He held up the paper bag. I brought crispy pork. To thank you for the treats last time. But PTO isn't home. Oh, Plaifah looked slightly disappointed. I actually came hoping to see him. Come inside. Teh stepped aside. It's raining harder again. If rain gets into the house, PTO will definitely scold me. I'm coming. Plaifah laughed. It started pouring the moment I arrived. I swear it had almost stopped. Looks like a storm. Teh smiled. You brought the rain with you. He glanced outside. And why didn't you bring an umbrella? Teh continued complaining as Plaifah smiled awkwardly. Being scolded by someone younger felt strangely amusing. He handed the paper bag over. There's enough crispy pork for you too. I actually thought you wouldn't be home today. I hate going out when it rains. Teh shrugged. So I stayed home. I always end up going out when it rains. Plaifah smiled faintly. The cold weather makes me feel lonely. I don't like it at all. The rain outside grew heavier. Wind battered against the windows. A flash of lightning illuminated the house. Several seconds later, thunder roared overhead. The lights flickered, then immediately returned. Plaifah instinctively squeezed his eyes shut. He wasn't frightened, just startled. Good thing the power didn't go out. Teh broke the awkward silence. Even after everything that had happened between them, they still weren't comfortable enough to talk naturally. His gaze slowly traveled over Plaifah's damp clothes. The house was quite cool with the air conditioning running. Want a shower and change? He asked casually. It doesn't look like the rain will stop anytime soon. Really? You should fit into PTOS clothes. You're about the same size. Won't he mind? He won't. Teh smiled. Especially not if it's you. I'll call him first. I was about to phone him anyway. Go on in. And don't worry about getting the floor wet. I'll clean it later. Sorry in advance. Plaifah apologized as he stepped inside. Water dripped from his clothes onto the floor. Watching him walk away, Teh raised his phone and called Hua-tu. PTO, where are you? Okay. Fa's here. He's soaked. I'm going to lend him your clothes. All right. Oh, and one more thing. The instant noodles you always make for me. What exactly do you put in them? What? Just throw in whatever I want. Will that even taste good? There has to be a recipe. Tom yum paste. Chili paste. Milk. Lime. No. Forget it. I give up. I'm starving. I'll just eat cup noodles. I hate you, Hua-tu. Hurry home. After throwing his childish tantrum, Teh ended the call. Turning back to Plaifah, he smiled. PTO said you can use his room. I'll get you some clothes. Go shower first. You're about to eat? There might be a problem with that. Plaifah laughed quietly. Teh opened Hua-tu's bedroom door and motioned him inside. So this is PTOS room. It is. I wanted to make those instant noodles PTO always cooks. But the instructions sounded way too complicated. So I'll probably eat something else. Instant noodles? Yeah. The kind with loads of toppings. PTO makes them really well. I can cook them. Plaifah smiled. I can cook. Since I'm stuck here because of the rain anyway. They might not taste exactly like PTOS. But they should still be edible. I've never cooked for anyone before. I want to eat them. Then I'll shower quickly. Teh nodded obediently. He opened Hua-tu's wardrobe and picked out a set of clothes that looked like they'd fit. Soon, the bathroom door closed. Water splashed softly against the tiles. Not long afterwards, Plaifah emerged, wrapped in nothing but a towel. Teh instantly regretted waiting in the bedroom. The towel revealed far too much. His pale skin, the faint trail of fine hair across his stomach. The other night had been too dark to notice. Now, he looked impossibly fair, as slender as Hua-tu. Then Teh's eyes stopped. Several faded love bites remained scattered across Plaifah's chest. Marks. He had left there himself. Mine. Stop staring. Did you know you have a nickname? Plaifah looked puzzled. What nickname? Pretty legs. Science faculty's tight one. Teh blinked. I've never heard either of those. Plaifah laughed. Forget it. Come on. You must be starving. The crispy pork's good too. Plaifah was easygoing. No matter where he went, he adapted effortlessly. As though this were his own home, he headed straight for the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. Then he called Teh over. Do you want it very spicy? Make it spicy. And make a lot. I'm starving. There'll be plenty. I'll eat too. I thought you already had dinner. I barely ate. Plaifah grinned. Just enough to smell the food. I'm hungry again. Where are the instant noodles? In the cupboard. Teh stepped behind him and reached up for the family-sized pack on the top shelf. The scent of Plaifah's shampoo drifted towards him. It was exactly the same brand he and Huada used. Yet, somehow, on Plaifah, it smelled completely different. Before he realized it, Teh took a slow breath. His free hand came to rest lightly against Plaifah's waist. I'm thirsty. Plaifah continued chopping ingredients. Can I have some water? Sure. Teh returned with a glass. Both of Plaifah's hands were occupied. Instead of taking it, he simply leaned forward. Teh understood immediately. He held the glass to Plaifah's lips. Plaifah drank obediently. Water spilled slightly. When Teh lowered the glass, tiny droplets still clung to Plaifah's lips. His tongue slipped out to lick them away. The sight made Teh's heartbeat stumble. Almost without thinking, he leaned in and kissed him. Plaifah returned the kiss, then quietly pushed him away. There was no anger in his eyes, only weary resignation. I'm sorry, Teh. His voice was gentle, but I won't sleep with anyone again. If there's ever a second time, it won't be something casual. We won't go any further than this. Teh stepped back. He wasn't the clingy type. Leaning against the kitchen counter with folded arms, he continued watching Plaifah, who calmly returned to cooking as though nothing had happened. As though they hadn't just kissed. If you told me earlier, Teh said shamelessly, I would have gone all out. Honestly, that night was pretty inconvenient. Plaifah looked up at him, then simply laughed and shook his head. Wide awake now? Yeah. Teh smiled. I'm completely awake. I won't argue with you. Chapter 9. Restraint. If there was one word Teh would use to describe Huatu, it was calm. In this world, no one seemed calmer than his older brother. It even showed in the way Huata cooked. Whenever Huata was in the kitchen, he always prepared every ingredient before he started cooking. Today, however, the person standing in the kitchen wasn't Huatu. It was someone with a similar build, but a completely different temperament. Teh already knew Plaifah was hot-tempered, impatient, passionate. His cooking reflected that. Instead of preparing everything beforehand, Plaifah chopped ingredients while the food was already cooking. Whenever he couldn't find something, he simply turned around and asked. Teh wasn't sure what expression he was wearing. Probably amazement. He'd never expected Plaifah to be such a good cook. A pot of water boiled on the electric stove. Once it reached a rolling boil, Plaifah added a bundle of tom yum herbs. As he worked, he casually explained each ingredient to Teh. Boil these for a while, then take them out. He stirred the pot. You can leave them in if you want, but I don't like fishing them out while I'm eating. PTO never removes them. Plaifah simply shrugged. Once he was satisfied with the flavor, he removed the herbs just as he'd said. Next came the shrimp-flavored tom yum instant noodles. He added every seasoning packet, then immediately began chopping vegetables and other ingredients before tossing them into the pot. He worked so quickly that Teh could barely follow what he was doing. What's that yellow liquid? Pickled ginger juice. It makes the broth richer. PTO never uses that. Teh watched curiously. Do you cook often? Very often. Plaifah smiled faintly. No one cooks for me. I live alone. My dad passed away when I was little. My mum remarried. He paused. I'm not sure how to explain it. I never really got along with my stepfather. So I moved out. Where do you live? At my aunt's house. My aunt's quite well off. She owns a house nearby that nobody lives in. So she let me stay there. She says I'm looking after the place for her. He smiled. We're close. Even though she nags me a lot. Oh, Teh didn't ask anything else. He wasn't sure how much of Plaifah's past he had the right to know. Can I have some eggs? Plaifah looked around. And where's the crispy pork? The eggs are in the fridge. The crispy pork's outside. You grab the eggs. I'll get the pork. Without waiting for permission, Teh walked over to the dining table beside the kitchen. The soggy paper bag sat there exactly where Plaifah had left it. Throwing away the ruined paper bag, he kept only the plastic container of crispy pork before handing it over. The stove was already switched off, although the pot still rested on the burner. Plaifah squeezed fresh lime juice into it, then added chili. Finally, he carefully arranged the crispy pork on top. Since he'd grown up living with a rather bossy older brother, Teh automatically began setting the table. Bowls, spoons, chopsticks, everything had to match. That had always been his job. If he ever moved too slowly, Hwada would stand nearby with his hands on his hips, complaining. He carried the cute patterned bowls over first. A few moments later, Plaifah arrived carrying the steaming pot and placed it carefully onto a heat-proof mat. Wow, Teh leaned closer. It looks amazing. Plaifah simply raised an eyebrow. Pulling out a chair, he sat opposite Teh. The fragrant aroma filled the room. Steam drifted upwards before disappearing into the air. Without waiting for anyone, Plaifah began eating. He wasn't someone who cared much about formalities. Seeing that, Teh picked up his chopsticks as well. The moment he tasted the broth, his brows furrowed. Plaifah looked up immediately. What's with that face? He laughed. Don't tell me it's bad. No. Teh shook his head. It's too good. Then why are you frowning? He looked genuinely surprised. I never imagined you could cook this well. It's mostly seasoning powder. Plaifah casually picked up a piece of crispy pork. His cheeks puffed out adorably as he chewed. Before he'd even swallowed, he continued talking. You judged me from your first impression. You thought I couldn't cook. And what was your first impression of me? Plaifah pretended to think. What kind of person was I? Even Teh realized it was a difficult question, one that could easily make things awkward. He wasn't sure why he'd asked. Maybe he expected something like a flirt, a bad guy, easy to read, cold, whatever it was. It didn't really matter. Instead, Plaifah answered, a messy little brat. When I first met you, you were still in secondary school. You came to visit PTO at university. You weren't nearly this tall. You were chubby too. Body shaming. I'm just describing you. Didn't you know? Teh grinned. Chubby kids grow up to be handsome. This is literally my first time hearing that. Plaifah laughed. He picked up another piece of crispy pork and placed it on a Teh's plate. Try it. I brought it all this way. Teh obediently picked it up. Then he leaned a little closer. Am I handsome? What? Plaifah blinked. You're seriously asking? Yeah. You suddenly lost confidence. I just want to know. Teh smiled. Whether you think I'm handsome. You are. Plaifah answered without hesitation. Handsome. Teh immediately puffed up with pride. Even science faculty's Type 1 thinks I'm handsome. I'm not ordinary after all. You can brag about winning over science faculty's Type 1 if you want. I'm not someone who brags. I'll believe that when I see it. You've been bragging too. Teh smirked, saying you took me down. This time, Plaifah frowned. He waited until Teh had finally put the crispy pork into his mouth. Then, smack. His palm landed loudly against Teh's upper arm. So that's what you mean by taking me down? Exactly. Teh grinned shamelessly. My love, hurry up and eat. The noodles are getting soggy. Teh laughed. He filled his own bowl with noodles before returning another piece of crispy pork to Plaifah. Tapping his chopsticks lightly against the bowl, he looked directly into Plaifah's eyes. This is delicious. He smiled. It's even better than PTOS. If I want to eat this again, what should I do? Plaifah's answer came lightly, almost teasingly. Wait until it rains like today. Why does it have to rain? Plaifah smiled. I said wait until it rains like today. But do you know something? The rain never falls the same way twice. Teh laughed softly. So that's your artistic way of refusing. You're overthinking it. Plaifah shook his head. I'm not saying I won't cook for you again. I just can't promise it'll taste exactly the same. You like it, don't you? I do. Then remember this flavor. The next time you crave it, the memory alone might be enough. You sound deeper than you look. Teh chuckled. That's almost a movie quote. Plaifah rolled his eyes. Please don't make me swear. Smiling broadly, he popped the piece of crispy pork Teh had given him into his mouth. His eyes curved into crescents. He looked ridiculously adorable. Teh suddenly found himself unable to keep looking at him. His chopsticks rested quietly at the bottom of his bowl. His gaze drifted over the scattered food stains on the table. Something stirred inside him. A strange awareness. His chest suddenly felt hollow. His hands seemed unusually weak. All because of Plaifah. When he finally looked back up, seeing that smile again, Teh realized, for the first time, he genuinely thought Plaifah was incredibly cute. When I finish eating, Plaifah smiled. I'll head home. It's already getting dark. It's dark. Teh glanced outside. It's raining. The traffic's terrible. There are floods. He hesitated. Why don't you stay here tonight? The words lingered in the air. Teh sighed quietly, so quietly that Plaifah never noticed. It'll probably be hard to find a ride home. He forced a smile. Why don't you borrow my car? It's all right. Plaifah shook his head. I can't drive. What was this strange feeling? Was this what it meant? Doing something you hated, just because someone else mattered? Teh hated driving in the rain. He hated traffic, flooded streets, everything about it. But, I'll drive you home. What? Plaifah blinked. You don't have to. I'd feel bad. I have to go out anyway. Hearing that, Plaifah nodded in understanding. Oh, what a lie. Today, Teh had turned down every invitation he'd received. Yet here he was, willingly driving through pouring rain, heavy traffic, and flooded roads, just to take Plaifah home. He couldn't help thinking, maybe, just maybe, he'd fallen for science faculty's Type 1. Was it good, PTO? Very. Are you full? Jimmy smiled. Should we order more? Hwada doesn't seem full yet. You're teasing me. Hwada protested while still chewing. To anyone watching, it wasn't frightening. It was simply adorable. Jimmy picked up the menu again. A faint smile rested on his handsome face. Sharing a meal with Hwada made the gloomy rainy day seem far less dull. Even his irritation about Plaifah being with Teh had quietly disappeared. He'd been annoyed when he found out Plaifah had gone to Hwada's house. But after sitting here and watching Hwada happily eat, that irritation vanished completely. Maybe it was because he'd eaten well. Maybe it was because Hwada kept smiling. Throughout the day, Hwada had gradually lowered his guard around him. Their conversations flowed naturally now. I'm not teasing. Jimmy held up the menu. Do you want to order something else? Give it here. I'll order myself. Setting his chopsticks together, Hwada reached across the steaming pot of pho. Jimmy handed over the menu immediately. Do all small people eat this much? Jimmy laughed. PTO eats a lot. Phi eats a lot too. When have I ever eaten a lot? Hwada looked offended. Or maybe you just don't eat enough. I don't eat that little. Jimmy smiled. I just eat quickly, so I get full faster. Oh, Hwada nodded dramatically. So now you're finding every possible excuse to convince yourself you don't eat much. Excuse me. Hwada waved the menu. We're ready to order. He deliberately ignored Jimmy. Let him think whatever he wanted. The food was delicious, and he really wasn't full yet. I like watching you eat. MHM. You always look so natural. And when don't I look natural? You keep avoiding my eyes. Maybe because you stare too much. Hwada speared a piece of fish with his chopsticks and held it out. Here. This is delicious. Jimmy sighed dramatically. My stomach's about to burst. But if PTO wants me to eat, I'll eat. If you really can't. Hwada began pulling the fish back. I'll take it. No. Jimmy immediately leaned forward. I'm eating. I'm eating. He quickly accepted the fish and reluctantly put it into his mouth. His full stomach protested. His brows furrowed as he looked out the window. Fortunately, their table overlooked the street. Outside, the heavy rain had eased into a drizzle. According to the forecast, it would continue raining for several more hours. Some roads in Bangkok were already flooded, including the route Hwada would take home. Are you in a hurry to get back? No. Hwada shook his head. I don't have any other plans. Do you want to come see my cat? Jimmy asked casually. It was the sort of invitation most people would misunderstand. But the person sitting opposite him was Hwada. His mind immediately focused on only one thing. The cat. He nodded without hesitation. Sure. I miss Saint-C too. Jimmy really must love him. I only played with him a few times, and I already adore him. Cats are like that. Jimmy smiled. They're like little bosses. Make eye contact for 1 second, and you've already fallen under their spell. But you like dogs too, don't you? Hwada remembered. When we went to Loppery, I saw you playing with dogs for ages. I do. Jimmy nodded. Actually, I like dogs more than cats. They're just harder to look after. My mom bought me Saint-C. She worried I'd get lonely. So she thought raising a pet would make me gentler. Jimmy paused, then spoke very seriously. I'm already very gentle. Hwada laughed softly. I believe you. Whenever he laughed, His eyes curved almost completely shut. Jimmy had just complimented himself. Yet Huada genuinely believed him. Sometimes Jimmy really was gentle. Other times, he was unbelievably willful. Maybe it was because he'd spoiled Saint C too much. Or maybe Jimmy himself was just like a cat. Sometimes affectionate. Sometimes distant. Always needing his own space. Have you had Saint C for a long time? About 3 years. My mom gave him to me when I got into university. He came with the condo. The one you're living in now? Yeah. It's mine now. Young millionaire. Jimmy laughed. So, do you still want to come see the cat? I already said yes. Huada smiled helplessly. If someone else invites you to see a cat, Jimmy said with a grin. Don't agree so easily. They might have ulterior motives. Why? Huada blinked. Is there some hidden meaning? There is. What is it? Jimmy smiled mischievously. When two people who like each other go back to one person's room because they said they wanted to see the cat, and when they get there isn't actually a cat. What do you think happens? Like? Huada hesitated. Netflix and chill? Something like that. But, Huada looked genuinely puzzled. You really were inviting me to see Saint C, weren't you? For the first time, Jimmy faltered. The tips of his ears slowly turned red. Truthfully, he'd only wanted to wait until the floodwater went down before driving Huada home. I really do have a cat. Jimmy cleared his throat. If you don't believe me, I can just take you home. The faux restaurant's near your condo, anyway. Huada smiled. It's fine if we stop by for a while. Jimmy looked straight at him. So, do you want to see the cat? Or do something else? Huada let out a long groan. His entire face turned scarlet. Jim, I really just want to see Saint C. Jimmy burst into laughter. After taking a moment to calm down, Huada quietly resumed eating. That's all. After dinner, he was simply going to play with Saint C. Just play with the cute cat. Absolutely nothing else. He swore it. Chapter 10. Please be mindful of intimacy. In reality, Jimmy's condo wasn't far from the hot pot faux restaurant where they had dinner. However, because of the heavy traffic, it still took them several minutes to get there. The car was parked on the designated level of the parking garage. Jimmy led Huada into the familiar elevator. Huada continued walking at his usual, unhurried pace, his dark brown eyes curiously taking in his surroundings before looking away once they stepped inside. Jimmy held Huada's hand from the moment they entered the building. In the privacy of the elevator, he found himself unwilling to let go. Huada's hand was soft. Perhaps because he was meticulous in everything he did, he also took excellent care of himself. Jimmy glanced sideways, lowering his gaze to Huada's phone screen despite knowing it was impolite. He hadn't meant to pry, but it looked like a chat conversation, and he couldn't help being curious. It seemed to be someone he didn't know, and a man at that. Using only one hand, Huada typed out a reply, his attention completely fixed on the screen. Only when Jimmy gently tugged at the hand he was holding did Huada slip his phone into his pocket and look up. We're here. Shall we get out of the elevator? It's quite high up, isn't it? Yeah. The elevator door slid open. Jimmy gave Huada's hand another gentle tug, leading him out. Huada looked slightly flustered. He had noticed something unusual about Jimmy. Somehow, he seemed upset again, just like before they had dinner. That temperamental kid, as unpredictable as an actual cat. Huada followed without resistance. As soon as they entered Jimmy's apartment, the faint irritation seemed to disappear. Jimmy finally let go of his hand because the chubby blue cat came trotting over, rubbing against his legs and meowing. Saint C rubbed against Jimmy before wandering over to Huada, sniffing him and rubbing against his legs as well. Cats rub against people to mark their territory. Saint C's scent is all over PTO now. Jimmy scooped Saint C up and draped him over his shoulder with a helpless smile before leading Huada farther inside. He set the cat on the 3-tiered cat condo. The plump feline immediately began grooming himself, affectionately rubbing against the post before licking himself with an expression that somehow looked almost offended. Contradictory, just like a cat. Huada walked over and sat on the sofa, looking around the apartment as he always did whenever he visited somewhere new. Jimmy's place was neat and spotless. The housekeeper must have just cleaned. Everything's so spotless. I was just about to say the apartment looks really clean. When we video call, it's usually a mess, isn't it? Jimmy laughed softly. He walked to the refrigerator, grabbed a bottle of water, and handed it to Huada. His condo had 2 bedrooms, making it feel quite spacious. Sometimes, it even felt too spacious for someone living alone. It's usually a bit messy. Do you prefer staying at the condo instead of your house, Jim? I can stay anywhere. But PTO doesn't really like condos. They usually feel cramped, but your place is spacious, so it's fine. Sain-Si jumped down from the cat condo, instantly capturing nearly all of Hua-Tu's attention. He watched the plump cat waddle over before smiling in surprise when Sain-Si leaped onto his lap and raised a paw to begin licking it. Sain-Si really likes PTO. You two became friends the moment you walked in. Really, don't pay more attention to Sain-Si than you do to Jim. You should know this first. Your boyfriend is very jealous and very possessive. Jimmy unscrewed his bottle of water and drank nearly half of it before setting it on the dining table. Then he walked back over and sat beside Hua-Tu, who was still stroking Sain-Si's fur. His handsome face leaned closer. Who were you talking to earlier? Talking about what? In the elevator. You were chatting with someone else. You ignored Jim for a total of 37 seconds. 37 seconds? Were you actually timing me? No. I just said it to make it sound serious. Now answer me. Who were you talking to? Sain-Si had already wandered off after thoroughly marking Hua-Tu with his scent and settled into his own bed for a nap. Jimmy leaned even closer, his eyes fixed intently on Hua-Tu. Hua-Tu let out a quiet sigh. Somehow, he felt himself shrinking under that unwavering gaze. A friend. It felt completely unfair. He couldn't bring himself to ask Jimmy overly personal questions, yet Jimmy had no hesitation about asking him. Hua-Tu understood how unfair it was, but he accepted it. He accepted the question, answered it honestly, and quietly let the unfairness fade away. I posted on my story that I was going out for pho. A friend messaged to ask if I'd come back to Thailand. It's a restaurant I visit often. We hadn't spoken in a while, so we ended up chatting longer than I expected, long enough to forget about Jim for 37 seconds. A friend, huh? Yes. Hey, what are you doing? Hua-Tu cried out when Jimmy suddenly pushed him gently against the sofa cushions and rubbed his face and hair against him. It tickled and felt strangely intimate. Jim's leaving his scent on you. Jim's possessive. Jim wants everyone to know you belong to him. Once he realized what Jimmy was doing, Hua-Tu smiled brightly. He pressed both hands against Jimmy's cheeks and tried to push him back. The closeness made his face burn crimson. His pale hands rested against Jimmy's face as he looked into those eyes, overflowing with emotion. Again, he found himself unable to look away. Hua-Tu swallowed audibly. Jimmy ignored it, his gaze fixed on Hua-Tu's rosy lips. Jim, please move back a little. I'm feeling uncomfortable. Instead of moving away, Jimmy drew even closer. His warm breath brushed across Hua-Tu's smooth cheek as the tip of his nose lightly grazed his skin, breathing in the sweet scent that lingered there. You smell so good. Jimmy's voice had turned hoarse. He swallowed as well. His hands began to wander restlessly, holding Hua-Tu close. Hua-Tu's breathing became uneven. He seemed to try to pull away, yet he never truly escaped, allowing Jimmy to hold him close. Jimmy gently pressed his lips against Hua-Tu's lower lip. His tongue brushed lightly against Hua-Tu's lips before coaxing them apart. Their kiss deepened as Jimmy slowly explored the sweetness he had come to love. He loved the way PTO reacted whenever they kissed. Hua-Tu always seemed to melt into his embrace, allowing Jimmy to hold him close. Just like now, Jimmy lifted Hua-Tu into his arms in a bridal carry. The sudden movement clearly startled him, and Hua-Tu instinctively wrapped both arms around Jimmy's neck, afraid of falling. His eyes darted about nervously. Jim wanted to be patient, but I don't think I can anymore. Is that okay? Jimmy looked deeply into Hua-Tu's eyes, silently pleading as he waited for an answer. Okay with what? Let's go see the cat in Jim's room. The one where you open the door and there isn't actually a cat. Is that okay? Hua-Tu parted his lips, about to answer. He stared into those narrow eyes, watching Jimmy blink slowly. He remembered what Jimmy had once said about cats, that just 1 second of eye contact was enough to make someone their devoted servant. Just 1 second. It was enough to make anyone's resolve crumble. Hua-Tu lowered his gaze. Shy, yet unexpectedly brave, he gave a small nod. That alone was enough to say yes. I've never done this before. Don't tease me. I'm already this old, and I've never experienced it. Jimmy didn't say another word. He carried Hua-Tu quickly to the bedroom, opening and closing the door before saying C could follow them inside. He gently laid Huata down on the soft bed. Jimmy's scent lingered in the blankets and sheets. Everything in the room reflected its owner's personality. Huata felt completely flustered, both because of the unfamiliar room and because of the unfamiliar situation. Jimmy climbed onto the bed. The headstrong younger man gently eased Huata onto his back. Before anything else could happen, Huata was already breathing heavily with nervous anticipation. I won't hurt you. Huata could smell Jimmy's scent all around him, unlike the room's owner, who only smelled of Huatu. Jimmy pinned the person beneath him in a possessive manner, kissing gently to calm Huatu's excitement. He could not recall ever being intimate with someone inexperienced like Huatu. It seemed he never had. He preferred those who were passionate and experienced. Gentleness and patience were not his strengths, but Jimmy tried. He tried to make everything as soft as possible, and it tormented him. A voice in his head told him to stop. Being intimate with Huata might lead to more problems than he could anticipate. He had wanted PTO partly to get back at Teh, but he did not want to be known as someone who slept with PTO and then abandoned him. However, his body refused to obey. Just as he had confessed to Huata earlier, what was happening now was because he could no longer endure it. Jimmy shifted, sitting up on his knees after kissing Huatu until he was exhausted and his body turned red. Their glazed eyes met. He could tell Huata did not want him to stop. Those unintentionally seductive eyes almost drove the one being looked at crazy. Jimmy removed his shirt over his head. He pressed his bare skin against Huatu's soft flesh. The temperature in the room rose. The more they touched, the hotter and more restless they became. Huata writhed. Their legs rubbed together, pressing his groin against Jimmy's hardening member. He was still being kissed relentlessly. Several sensitive spots on his body were being stimulated simultaneously. Huata was not sure how Jimmy was doing it. Kissing him to the point of losing his senses, squeezing his nipples until his body trembled with pleasure. What was more, he inserted his knee between Huatu's sensitive lower body, moving it back and forth. Huatu's body went limp again and again. He panted heavily, not protesting as Jimmy removed his t-shirt. His pants were removed next. Jimmy kissed his white stomach, moving lower and lower while pulling down the waistband. To be honest, he did not want to see anything more once he was naked. He could not bear to see Jimmy touching his groin. Huata pressed his head back, his hair sinking into the wide bed. The black bedsheet seemed to blend seamlessly with his hair. He raised his arms to cover his eyes, not wanting to see anything anymore. MMM. A trembling sound escaped his lips. Just a light lick from the tip of Jimmy's tongue tracing his sensitive tip made Huata cry out, tears welling from the corners of his eyes. Already red, his body turned even redder as Jimmy teased him by tracing his sensitive tip with his tongue. The person watching everything clearly wanted to know how much redder it could get. Jimmy inhaled Huatu's trembling scent. He moved lower, his hands gripping Tu's narrow waist tightly. It was even smaller than he had estimated visually. Perfectly fitting his hands, and so slender that he feared applying more pressure would injure the soft person. His lips gently nipped and playfully bit. The sensitive, erect peak twitched. Clear droplets of fluid appeared. Huata was aroused by the teasing, a good sign. Jimmy stopped teasing the hot, erect peak. He intended to make Huata climax in his mouth, so he carefully swallowed that part of Huatu, sucking hard until Huatu's buttocks lifted off the bed. The gasps and the tensing of his entire body indicated he was on the right track. Jimmy quickened his pace, observing Huatu. The arms covering his eyes now opened. Huatu's expression of torment was even more ravaging. Even though he knew staring at it would make him very shy, Jimmy intentionally met his gaze. He wanted to hypnotize Tu into focusing only on their current moment, as he had completely forgotten everything else. Oh, Jim, I'm close. Huata knew his own body well. Even though he had never had sex before, it did not mean he had never pleasured himself. At his age, even if he had not practiced it in reality, he thought he knew enough theoretically. Huata nodded his head slightly. He tried to suppress the torment that was attacking him relentlessly. His small hands reached out to push Jimmy's head away, but his hand was swatted aside. Jimmy pressed on his stomach to prevent him from moving. The sucking and pulling quickened until he could no longer hold back. A sound came from his throat, no different from someone suffocating. Huatu's hands and feet clenched and dug into each other. Finally, he let out a high-pitched scream. His head fell back onto the bed. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. Warm, hot droplets shot into Jimmy's mouth. It was too much to swallow completely, so the handsome young man let the milky white fluid stain his face. Seeing that he had made Jimmy messy, Huada felt even more embarrassed. He quickly moved and used his hands to wipe away the stains. Jimmy smiled at him slightly, chuckling softly. PTOS fluids. Jim doesn't mind. It's dirty. It's so sweet. Jimmy. Huatu's voice sounded heavy, as if burdened. He scratched his forehead with his fingertip, not knowing what to do next. It was Jimmy who came over and sat down, pressing his nose into the damp hair. Could you lie on your stomach, please? Without waiting for an answer, Jimmy turned Huata onto his stomach and gently pushed him down to lie flat. His perky buttocks were exposed to view. He could not resist tapping them lightly, out of affection. Jimmy opened the drawer next to the bed. As Huata turned to look, he saw a box of condoms and lubricant. He bit his lip tightly and turned back to press his face into his arm. Having these things in the room, Jimmy must be quite experienced. While his thoughts were in disarray, Huata heard the sound of a buckle being unfastened. The sound of a zipper and the rustling of something being thrown onto the floor made his nerves jangle. The items being thrown appeared to be Jimmy's outer and inner pants. He squeezed his eyes shut. When curiosity overcame his fear, he quickly turned to look at the young man's size. Jimmy gave him a sly smile, seeing his stunned reaction to his size. Can you handle it? I can't, Huata mumbled, his voice muffled, and it was incredibly cute. When his head drooped, and he turned to press his face into his own arm again, he became even cuter. It's too late to say you can't. Huata knew it was too late. He closed his eyes and let out a sound as Jimmy leaned over and pinned him down. He was kissed while feeling the space between his buttocks being spread apart by long fingers. It was a private area that had never been touched before, so he could not help but tense up and flinch. Huata, relax. Huata tried to relax by not focusing on that spot. He paid attention to being kissed on his shoulders and back, before realizing he could not stop thinking about that spot. Jimmy's fingertips were coated with slippery gel. Entering the small opening was quite easy. Jimmy pressed gently, not making him feel invaded. He paid attention to massaging the surrounding area first in the initial movements. When it was soft enough, the narrow passage seemed to swallow his finger on its own. Inside Huatu's body, the temperature was warm. His blood vessels pulsed with a rapid rhythm. Jimmy moaned longingly. He resisted the urge to thrust forcefully according to his own desires. Jim wants to enter and thrust hard. PTO is truly someone to be ravaged. He whispered, his fingertips still moving. His sharp eyes stared at Huatu's tormented face. His beautiful eyes were tightly shut, with tears welling up. He did not think that PTOS reply would snap his last threads of patience and restraint all at once. Jim, I want Jim to ravage me too. Chapter 11. Don't be a mean person. Jim, I want Jim to ravage me too. Huatu's stuttering end of the sentence was cut short as the fingers massaging him were withdrawn. Jimmy exhaled through his lips, straddled him, and positioned himself for the most comfortable thrusting. He twisted Huatu's face to taste the kiss. Normally, he was not one for much kissing, just a perfunctory peck to make his heart flutter. But for some reason, with PTO, he felt the urge to kiss again and again. The condom was swiftly torn open. Lubricant was applied to the hot shaft in his thick palm. Jimmy sucked in a breath and tugged, making the already hard member even harder. He tapped it against Huatu's soft rear before pressing and rubbing at the opening. The intense heat shot through too, making him bite his lip to suppress the trembling. He could not bring himself to open his eyes to meet Jimmy's gaze anymore, holding his breath as the tip entered his passage. Jimmy massaged his buttocks to ease his tension, moving in and out to help the entrance familiarize itself with the invasion, then pushed and pushed deeper. It felt as though his body was being torn apart. Huata cried out in pain. He knew Jimmy was trying to be gentle with him, but it still hurt so much that the rhythm of their lovemaking, which should have been smooth, faltered. He did not tell Jimmy to stop or ask him to withdraw, but his hips recoiling were enough to convey his pain. PTO. PTO. In that moment, there was one sentence Huata wished he could hear from Jimmy's lips, but he never did. He pursed his lips into a thin line. It was not that he did not know their love and affection were different. He liked Jimmy in a way that could be described as love at first sight. However, Jimmy might just be infatuated with him. The day Jimmy asked him to be his boyfriend, to get to know each other, he clearly saw emptiness in Jimmy's eyes. It's okay. It's really okay. To love or like someone sometimes requires learning and time. It's okay. He understood perfectly. Don't cry. Jim will comfort you. Gasp. His body jolted. He gasped for air into his lungs. The pain was almost unbearable because Jimmy, who had only penetrated halfway, suddenly thrust, driving the hot part of him entirely into his body. The delicate entrance felt a stinging numbness, his abdomen a dull ache. Huatu's tears flowed. He was not crying from sadness, but because his body was reacting to the pain he was experiencing. Jimmy moaned with satisfaction, kissing him repeatedly. Does it hurt a lot? Don't move yet. Huata nodded, admitting he was in a lot of pain. The hard heat was overwhelming him. While he was hurting, deep down he felt good about being filled. His lips trembled as he reached out to grasp Jimmy's nearby hand. He was held tightly as they joined. His passage was assaulted and injured, so the tight embrace was a comfort. Seeing that Huata was slowly easing out of his pain, Jimmy's lean hips began to move. He slid in and out slowly, allowing Huata to adjust and fully accept his presence. SSS. Ooh, where does it feel good? Here or here? Jimmy thrust in various spots he guessed would make Huata cry out with pleasure. He searched for a while until he finally found the spot. The pain groans turned into a different sound. The friction became smoother, allowing Jimmy to flip Huata over to lie on his back, meeting his eyes. His slender legs wrapped around Jimmy's waist. The more that spot was hit, the more Huatu's face contorted in agony. Oh, oh, oh. Huata could not hold back his moans, and it seemed Jimmy did not want him to hold back either. Moan, PTO. Don't hold back. Your face right now is so cute. The one who always gets their way is finally getting their way. Jimmy slipped a hand under Huatu's back, lifting it slightly to deepen their connection. His waist worked harder, his hip muscles exerting more force to increase the speed of their thrusting. Huata wrapped his arms around Jimmy's neck, moaning in a voice that conveyed both pain and pleasure. The member that rubbed against his strong abdomen became hard again. With no more hesitation, Jimmy powerfully thrust into Huata relentlessly, causing the one being acted upon to sway and his tears to flow without stopping. Huata released his arms from around Jimmy's neck. He lowered his hands to touch his recently released member, stroking himself at the same rhythm Jimmy was doing to him. His head fell back, his neck and temples tensing until veins bulged and sweat broke out. His mind went blank, blurry, not knowing what was what. The pain still lingered, but at this moment, another feeling was more influential over his body. There, Jim, harder. I'm close. Oh. The hand stroking himself was caught. Jimmy grasped Huatu's legs, lifting them to his shoulders. His hips lifted and met Huatu's thighs, allowing the sensitive spot deep inside to better connect with Jimmy's tip. Without needing his hand, he was almost there. Huatu's passage squeezed the hot shaft tightly, trapping him. He let out a low moan, his eyes widening. Jimmy thrust a few more times with emphasis, and then a thick white fluid spurted from Huatu's small opening. Huatu's body shuddered and convulsed a few more times as Jimmy continued to thrust, pulling Huatu into an embrace. Jimmy also climaxed. His body felt clear and light, and his mind followed suit. He looked at the person he held tightly to his chest. Huatu was trying to regulate his breathing back to normal. Their bodies remained pressed together, their private parts still joined. After sex, the moment of lying embraced with Huatu was what made Jimmy feel tender. He pressed a kiss on the perfectly shaped forehead of the person who seemed exhausted. Huatu hugged Jimmy back, conveying his feelings through his eyes. Jim, don't be cruel to me. Jimmy nodded. He interpreted cruel as in potentially taking advantage of Huatu further. It seemed Huatu might not be able to handle any more. Though he was reluctant, Jimmy withdrew his hot member from the warmth. The sudden emptiness made Huatu wince. The pain he had forgotten began to flood back. Jimmy held Huatu's legs apart and pressed his fingers to explore the swollen passage. There are no wounds, but it's a little bruised. Huatu snapped his legs shut. He pulled the crumpled blanket over himself, fumbling for his clothes scattered haphazardly. Jimmy would not let Hua grab his clothes so easily. He hugged Hua-Tu's waist, even though he was wrapped in the blanket. Can I sleep with you here tonight? Don't go home. Please, Jim wants to sleep hugging PTO. I want to take a shower. Promise me you'll stay with Jim tonight, and Jim will give you a bath. I'll stay here, but I can bathe myself. Jimmy smiled widely. He held Hua-Tu for a while longer, and when Hua-Tu's expression improved, he scooped him up in a bridal carry. He heard Hua-Tu say he could bathe himself, but who would let Hua-Tu bathe himself? Of course, it was an offer with ulterior motives. It would be nice to grope the fragrant person a little more in the bathroom. He smiled the entire time he was cuddling with Hua-Tu, who was shy. He wanted to have a little more intimate time with Hua-Tu. Let Jim hold you and smell you all night. His full lips pressed against the white skin of his neck as he bathed. Jimmy left sweet marks to show his ownership. You're too clingy. Am I clingy? Jimmy raised an eyebrow. He did not think he was being clingy to PTO, but the other person nodded emphatically as confirmation. Well, you're hugging and kissing me like this. That's very clingy. The rain stopped around 11 o'clock. After the rain stopped, lying embraced by someone under a thick duvet must feel blissful. But the chance to lie embraced by someone might not happen for him. Teh rubbed his nose with his fingertip, his gaze falling on his other hand, which was fiddling with a beer glass. He had gone to see Plaifah off after dinner at his house. After seeing him off, he came to sit and drink beer alone, feeling adrift. People walked past him, but tonight, the one who usually observed his surroundings or smiled at everyone did not want to do so. Teh did not smile at anyone. He did not engage with those who approached him, no matter how much they flirted or invited him. He was contemplating something that seemed impossible. He thought and thought. He drained the last of the beer in his glass. As he set the glass down, he sprang to his feet. It should not be like this. He should not be thinking about Plaifah at all. Why? The smiling lips appeared in his mind, then the bright eyes that blinked slowly, teasingly, then the voice, then the touch. Why? The more he drank, the clearer the memories of Plaifah became. Teh placed the payment for the beer on the table. He was not drunk, but he could not deny that the beer made his body feel hot. Every time he drank, he wanted sex. It was quite normal for him to end up in bed with someone on nights he went out drinking. But today, he did not want to go anywhere with anyone. Not sleep with anyone. It must be this sentence that made his thoughts and feelings so strange. It felt like an insult. Because of that insult, he could not stop thinking about Plaifah. Teh made a sound of acknowledgement to himself, nodding with newfound understanding of his confusion. He did not wait for his change after the waiter brought the bill and took the money. His long legs hurried out to the parking lot. He paid no attention to his surroundings. His destination tonight was not his own home either, because he intended to return to Plaifah's house. The bar where he had been drinking beer just moments ago was right in front of Plaifah's village. Therefore, it took him less than 5 minutes to drive, and the car stopped in front of a 2-story townhouse. All the lights were off, only the sound of the air conditioner compressor indicating that someone was inside. Teh banged his head against the steering wheel. He and Plaifah needed to talk things through. He could not be insulted like that. Yes, he had to see Plaifah. They needed to argue about him saying he would not sleep with him again. No, it's not good, it's very wrong. And then, enough. Get over it, you damn Teh. This is ridiculous. Even though he knew in his heart why he was back here. It's this crazy Teh's fault. He just wants to see his face, but without any reason. He's tricked himself with some foolish excuse. In reality, he did not feel hurt at all by the matter of Plaifah sleeping with him or not. Those who enjoy one-night stands usually have their own rules. Not sleeping with anyone twice is a common rule. It's a shame he had not set that rule for himself, and now he wanted Plaifah. When did Plaifah creep into his thoughts? No matter how hard he tried to find an answer, he could not find a good enough one. He had become a complete fool. A fool who knew nothing. He leaned back against the car seat, his hand reaching into his pocket to pull out his mobile phone. He did not have Plaifah's personal contact number, but the trip to Lopburi last week gave them the opportunity to exchange line contacts. He pressed call instead of sending a message, making a silent bet with himself. If Plaifah answered, he would admit he liked Fah. If not, he would drive home. Then, all the feelings and actions that went against his usual nature today would be kept a secret. He waited, praying Plaifah would not answer. yet hoping to hear his voice. It was not often that he felt so sensitive towards someone. No, Plaifah might be the first person to make him restless. Teh continued to wait, and he felt he had waited long enough. The end of this story should be him forgetting everything that happened, right? Hello? Is something wrong, Teh? It's Fah. He answered. It was as if time stopped suddenly. After hearing Plaifah's voice, Teh could only remain silent. Did you call the wrong number? What's he doing? His hand must have touched it by accident. Teh, if you don't answer, I'm hanging up. Fah. If he admitted he liked Plaifah, what should he do next? The answer was, he did not know. He knew nothing at all. What is it? Are you asleep? No. Fah is watching a series. Why is the house so dark? How did you know the house is dark? Because Teh is in front of the house. Did Fah forget something in Teh's car? After Plaifah's surprised voice, Teh noticed that the light in the upstairs room was turned on. He heard Plaifah walking, and soon he would appear. You didn't forget anything. Teh turned off the engine and the car's headlights. He saw Plaifah. The car is running low on gas, and I've been drinking beer, so I was wondering if I could stay with Fah. I'll go back tomorrow. Is that okay? Come out of the car. Teh could not breathe properly. He looked at the small person in a t-shirt that was too loose for his body, and wondered if he was even wearing pants. If he was, they must be very short. The front gate was open wide. Teh decided to hang up and get out of the car. It was almost midnight now. I thought you had already gone to sleep. I saw the house lights were off and dark. I was watching a movie on the projector, so the house had to be dark. Normally, Fah lives alone, so it might not be very convenient. Teh nodded. The emergency situation made Plaifah confused about what to do first and what to do next. He stepped aside, letting Teh enter the house. After locking the front door again, he followed. Teh pointed to the door inside, as if asking if he could open it. Go ahead, open it. The house is a bit messy. Given permission, Teh opened the door and walked inside. He was momentarily speechless, wondering what the relationship between him and Plaifah actually was. Senior, junior? Friends? Friends with benefits? One-sided crush? As soon as he entered the house, Teh first smelled disinfectant. Glancing at the cleaning supply shelf, he saw a large bottle of Dettol. The smell he was sensing was definitely Dettol, giving a very clean impression. Plaifah's house was indeed messy, as he had said. Most of the clutter consisted of piles of books and shopping bags. After you saw Fah off, Teh didn't go straight home, did you? No, I didn't. I went to the front of the village and found a beer place I used to frequent in my first year, so I stopped by. Fah's house is so close to the university. But even this close, Fah is often late for class. People who live close are often like that. When I lived in the dorm, I was always late. But when I moved home with PTO, it was much farther, and I was there early. Plaifah let out a laugh. He pointed to the refrigerator. Are you hungry? If you're hungry, you can find something to eat. Yes. Can you sleep in the same room as Fah? Yes. Why are you speaking so politely? Yes. Are you drunk? I just wanted to tease you. Teh let Plaifah lead the way upstairs. The smaller person did not forget to turn off lights that were no longer needed. Teh followed, and after the last step of the stairs, there was a bedroom door. Plaifah opened one of the doors and walked in, gesturing with the slightly ajar door as an invitation. Want to watch a series together? What series? A cute Korean one. I've only just started watching it. Sure, just press play. Make yourself at home. Feel like you're in your own house. Teh raised an eyebrow. He watched Plaifah sit on the bed. The room light was turned on, but it was not too bright because Plaifah had pressed play on the series they were watching. Teh unbuttoned his jeans. He took them off and walked to hang them on a chair. He could feel Plaifah watching him. There was no shyness being stared at while he was in boxers and a t-shirt, walking back and forth. Teh removed his accessories, like his watch, and placed them near his pants. It was the only jewelry he wore. After taking care of himself, he walked to sit next to Plaifah. The 5-foot bed was not too small for two people to sit together. Teh's boxers are longer than Fah's pants. I wore them before answering the phone. I usually just sleep in underwear and a t-shirt. You can wear that too. Make yourself comfortable. Teh is just someone asking for a place to stay. Don't do that. Be yourself too much. Fah is afraid he'll lose his mind. Plaifah smiled at the corner of his mouth. He picked up a pillow and hugged it. Teh shifted to sit with his back against the headboard, imitating Plaifah, before looking at the series playing on the wall. Teh has watched this one before. Is it good? Very. I liked it a lot. The male lead is so kind. Your face doesn't suggest you'd like Korean series. Don't judge by appearance. Okay, if I had a boyfriend, Teh would be as kind to him as the male lead in the series. Would you like to try being T's boyfriend? Teh crossed his arms. Who would say something so creepy? As kind as the male lead, even though he's been a jerk for most of his life. Why are you crushing T's dreams? Plaifah let out a laugh. He shifted his gaze from the screen to Teh, smiling widely until his eyes crinkled. Fah is waiting to see T's boyfriend's face. I'm dying to know what the person who makes Teh go crazy over them looks like. Teh did not know what possessed him to reach out and pull Plaifah's neck. He leaned forward and kissed Plaifah's lips. Plaifah was surprised but did not protest. The smell of alcohol from T's breath washed over his cheek. Fah, please, break your own rule just once. What rule? Plaifah did not pull away. He frowned, not understanding. T's warm hand was still on the back of his neck, making him feel more awkward than good. The rule that we only sleep together once. Teh had never begged anyone the way he was begging Plaifah. He had never been bothered by such things. He never insisted if the other party said they did not want it. But with Plaifah, it was different. He wanted to try that again, to know if he truly liked the other person or was just infatuated. Why? Do you want to do it again? Teh wants to prove something. And then what? After you prove it. Fah is useless, is that it? Teh could only open and close his mouth. He nodded several times in succession before letting Plaifah go. I just feel like I might be accidentally liking Fah, but isn't sure if it's that kind of feeling. Will sleeping together again tell you if you like me or not? I don't agree to breaking that rule. Because if Teh gets something, then others should too. Otherwise, it's not fair. Teh could only keep opening and closing his mouth. He looked at Plaifah, who had an even more serious expression. Will he be hated for asking for something unreasonable? Do you like Fah? Is that what you want to prove? Something like that. It's a feeling that just came up. I don't know why. I've never felt this way about anyone. Then, shall we go on a date? Like a sweet Korean drama, not 18 plus. Huh. Never mind. Consider that Fah didn't say anything. We've already gone too far. What kind of date is this? It's late. I'm probably delirious. I'm just rambling. Plaifah returned to sit with his back against the headboard, opening a bottle of Chong beer to drink. He did not show any signs of embarrassment or unusual behavior about what they had just discussed. Teh was still trying to make sense of it all. He blinked slowly several times. Finally, okay, let's go on a date. Plaifah almost choked on his drink, but then shrugged nonchalantly. I hope you can be the kind of sweet, romantic person like a drama's male lead. Yes, you can count on Teh. Teh looked at the image playing on the wall. He sighed. He would try to be a good guy for once, even if he had been a jerk all his life, as Plaifah had said. Chapter 12. In the end, he was cruel. He woke late on a beautiful Sunday morning. It was already late, and after days of rain, the overcast sky had finally cleared. The cream-colored curtains in Plaifah's room glowed softly beneath the warm sunlight, filling the room with a gentle golden light that made anyone want to stay in bed a little longer. Since there was no alarm on Sundays, Teh, who had just woken up to find himself alone in the large bed, fumbled around for the phone he'd left somewhere and checked the time. It was only 10 in the morning. On a day with nowhere to be, waking up at this hour wasn't considered late. Teh couldn't remember exactly when he'd fallen asleep, but he was certain it had happened before Plaifah finished watching his series. So why had Fah gotten up first? He sat up, shaking the sleep from his head. Once he felt fully awake, he picked up the trousers he'd taken off the night before and put them back on. After checking that he hadn't left anything behind, he stepped out of the cool bedroom in search of the homeowner. Fah, where are you? As soon as he reached the bottom of the stairs, Teh felt the icy chill of the downstairs air conditioner. Plaifah was curled up asleep on the sofa, the remote still loosely clutched in one hand. The television continued playing the same series he'd been watching the night before. Since Teh had already seen it, he recognized the scenes immediately. It had reached the middle of the episode. Seriously, was he planning to finish the whole thing in one night? So Fah hadn't actually woken up before him after all. He'd only just managed to fall asleep. Teh gently eased the remote from the sleeping man's hand and switched off the television. Even then, Plaifah showed no sign of waking. Hands on his hips, Teh looked down at him for a moment before heading back upstairs to fetch a blanket. As he draped it over him, Plaifah stirred slightly. His instincts were sharp enough to sense someone nearby. He opened his eyes just enough to see Teh standing there, then closed them again. "You're leaving already?" he mumbled hoarsely. Teh nodded instinctively before realizing Fah's eyes were shut. "I'm leaving. Why are you sleeping down here?" "I was watching the series. You fell asleep in my room, and I didn't want to make too much noise." Plaifah shifted slightly before his breathing steadied once more. Teh decided not to wake him any further. He sat down on the empty space beside the white feet tucked beneath the blanket and leaned forward, studying the peaceful face peeking out from under it. His fingers gently brushed a stray strand of hair away. Sleeping like this, Fah looked harmless, adorable. As Teh stared at him, he quietly searched his own heart. In the end, all he found was one simple feeling. He liked him. He liked sitting here, just looking at him. Teh slowly stood. He had never been in love before. He had never experienced the kind of love people wrote about in novels or showed in films, the kind that made someone feel as though they would die without the other person. He had always believed that kind of love existed. Could Plaifah be the one who made him feel that way? A love that made you willing to suffer. A love that hurt, yet was still worth enduring. Was he falling in love? Or wasn't he? Is falling in love really this difficult? He murmured to himself. Barefoot, he stepped outside and carefully locked the front door from the inside, so Plaifah would be safe. The bright sunlight stung his eyes, scattering the tangled thoughts filling his head. After taking a few steps, he turned back. The moment he left, he already wanted to return. He wanted to stay just a little longer, at least until Fah woke up. Then he remembered. He had already locked the door. He twisted the doorknob back and forth. Click, click. It wouldn't open. Teh scratched the back of his neck and laughed helplessly. Nicely done, Teh. Thanks for locking yourself out. He paced around for a moment before finally giving up and walking back to his car. The fuel tank was still half full. No need to stop anywhere. Time to go home. Traffic late on a Sunday morning wasn't bad, so it only took about 40 minutes to drive from Plaifah's house back to his own. The front gate was still locked, just as he'd left it the day before. Huatu's car remained parked in its usual place, making Teh wonder where his brother had gone. Yesterday, Teh had said he would stop by the cafe, then head to the office for a while, and wouldn't be home for dinner. But judging by the silence of the house, it seemed he hadn't returned at all. After parking, Teh immediately called him. The phone rang for a long time before someone answered. The voice wasn't Huatu's. Teh froze. It was Jimmy. "PTO is asleep." "Jim, is that you?" Even though he already knew the answer, Teh asked anyway. His gaze drifted toward the green trees Huatu had planted outside. Normally, they made him feel peaceful. Not today. "Yeah, it's me. My brother's with you?" "Yeah. When PTO wakes up, I'll take him home." "PTO isn't feeling well. He took some medicine. If he doesn't improve, I'll take him to see a doctor." "Jim, what do you mean? Why are you with him? Who were you with last night?" Teh swallowed hard and leaned his head against the seat. So he knew. He must have heard everything from Huatu. "I was alone." He lied. "What about my Fah? Weren't you with him?" "No. You're lying. If you weren't with Fah last night, you wouldn't have been calling your brother over and over." And Teh closed his eyes. Jimmy was right. Last night, all he could think about was Plaifah. He hadn't spared Huatu a second thought. He'd assumed his brother had gone home after leaving. He'd never imagined he would spend the night with Jimmy. "I saw everything that night, Teh. You slept with Fah, then acted like nothing had happened." "I'm sorry." Those were the only words he had. Jimmy let out a quiet sigh, followed by a short laugh. "I got PTO." T's hand clenched tightly. His lips pressed into a thin line. "You mean, you're in love with Tu? When you slept with Fah, did you love him? You can hate me. You can even punch me if you want. But this has nothing to do with PTO. Don't drag my brother into this just to get revenge." Teh couldn't stop himself from raising his voice. He was protective of Huatu. He wasn't against his brother dating someone. But not like this. If Jimmy didn't truly love him, then he shouldn't be doing this. "It's good that you're angry, Teh." Jimmy laughed softly. "It's good that you're hurting." Grinding his teeth, Teh forced himself to stay calm. Inside, he wanted nothing more than to rush over and punch Jimmy in the face. "Do you love my brother at all? Even a little?" "I don't love PTO." "Then please leave him alone." His voice dropped into a plea. I'm begging you. Don't let this go any further. Stop bothering Pfa, and I'll stop bothering your brother. You'll never have Plaifah. Teh closed his eyes. Then he said quietly, but if staying away from Pfa means you'll leave my brother alone, then I'll stop. There was never anything between me and Pfa. It ended that day. Oh. Silence filled the line. Teh struggled to steady his breathing. He didn't feel like apologizing to Jimmy. The person he truly wanted to apologize to was Hua-tu. Are you coming to pick up your brother? If you do, I'll just dump him in the lobby. What the hell? Teh exploded. What do you think PTO is? He can be anything. But if you keep bothering the person I like, I'll drag your brother upstairs, sleep with him a couple more times, then dump him back downstairs just like today. Teh couldn't bear another word. He hung up, restarted the engine he'd only just switched off, then drove away so fast the car lurched forward. But no matter how fast he drove, it still wasn't fast enough. Meanwhile, after answering Hua-tu's phone so it wouldn't disturb the man sleeping with a slight fever, Jimmy stepped outside. He had known Teh would eventually call. In fact, he'd been waiting for it. He had deliberately tricked Teh into admitting he'd spent the night with Plaifah. Hearing the confirmation had stirred something unpleasant inside him. He also knew everything he'd just said made him sound like an awful person, like someone using Hua-tu as nothing more than a weapon against Teh. Was he really that terrible? Had he slept with Hua-tu just to hurt Teh? He placed Hua-tu's phone on the wooden table before him, hands clasped together, head lowered. Jimmy sat there wearing only his pajama pants. The multipurpose room wasn't air-conditioned, but it wasn't hot either. He kept replaying everything that had happened between himself, PTO, and Teh. Eventually, his thoughts became a complete blank. He stood and returned to the bedroom. Hua-tu had developed a fever because Jimmy had been too rough with him. In the middle of the night, he'd curled against Jimmy, complaining that he was cold and aching. The moment Jimmy touched his forehead, he'd known he had a fever. He'd wiped him down, found medicine, made him take it, then held him close all night to keep him warm. When Jimmy entered the bedroom, Saint-C sat proudly on the pillow. The cat stared intently at Hua-tu, completely ignoring its owner. Hua-tu was still asleep, but Saint-C gently tapped his cheek with one fluffy paw as though trying to wake him. Hua-tu reached out lazily and stroked the cat's head. Saint-C immediately circled around him. Jimmy frowned. That was unusual. You're awake. He leaned against the doorframe with his arms folded, watching the cat fuss over Hua-tu. Saint-C, don't bother PTO. He's not bothering me. I think he's comforting me. Huh. Because it hurts so much. I'm crying. Hua-tu slowly pushed himself upright. Sure enough, tears had gathered at the corners of his eyes. He raised a hand to wipe them away. Jimmy immediately walked over and sat beside the bed. Gently, he wiped away Hua-tu's tears himself. His eyes remained fixed on those deep brown ones. He hated seeing PTO cry. Does it hurt that much? Was Jim too rough? I'm sorry, PTO. You're so cute. Jim couldn't control himself. Oh, is that so? Please don't cry. Jimmy's thumb brushed away the last traces of tears. When Hua-tu smiled at him first, Jimmy found himself smiling back. No more tears remained. Where did Jim go just now? I answered your phone. Teh called. I forgot to tell him I wasn't coming home. He knows you're here with Jim. He's furious. He'll probably come pick you up soon. Go shower and get dressed. Jim will take you downstairs. Does Jim? Yes. No, why T's angry. I don't know either. But your brother's angry because you're here with me. I think it's better if we don't see each other for a while. Something tightened painfully inside Hua-tu's chest. Jimmy never noticed. After composing himself, Hua-tu lowered his gaze to his own hands. He swallowed hard before looking back up. It's a shame T's angry. All right. We won't see each other for now. And Jim doesn't have to pretend to care about me anymore. I'm going to take a shower. He pushed back the blanket. The clothes he'd borrowed from Jimmy still carried the familiar scent he liked. That lingering fragrance reminded him all too clearly of everything they'd done together the night before. After that, Hua-tu barely spoke. His fever had left him exhausted. So when Jimmy left him alone in the lobby downstairs, he simply nodded. He had been thrown away. That's exactly how it felt. Not long after Jimmy returned upstairs, Teh arrived. If Hua-tu was quiet, Teh was even quieter. There was no anger in his eyes, only guilt. While they sat waiting at a red light, Hua-tu adjusted the passenger seat and looked over. Who moved the seat? Was it Pha? Jim and I are dating. Jim asked Fa out, didn't he? Teh doesn't like Fa. Jim's the one who likes Fa. Is that right? But you slept with Fa. Even though you don't like him. Jim got hurt. So he asked me to date him. Even though he doesn't like me either. He smiled bitterly. Why? Why does everything have to become so complicated? Is it fun? Playing with other people's feelings? PTO. Teh reached over and placed his hand gently over Hua Tu's tightly clenched fists. Hua quietly pulled away. He took a deep breath, trying to swallow the sob caught in his throat. But tears still rolled down his cheeks. I'll be okay, Teh. There's just a lump in my throat. He licked his dry lips and breathed deeply, trying desperately not to cry. But sitting beside Teh, his safe place, only made everything collapse. He broke down sobbing until his whole body trembled. I woke up when you called. I heard everything you and Jim said. Why? Why is Jim so cruel? If he's angry with you, why drag me into it? Doesn't he think that I have a heart too? Teh's eyes turned red. Being punched by Jimmy would have hurt less than hearing this. He wiped at his own eyes with the back of his hand as the light turned green. I'm at fault too. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, PTO. Hua nodded weakly. He said nothing more. And Teh, the useless younger brother, could only sit beside him in silence while Hua tried to gather the shattered pieces of himself. Already weakened by the fever, Hua could barely think straight. He shook his head several times. Jim said we shouldn't see each other while you're angry. That was just an excuse to leave me, wasn't it? Teh nodded helplessly. Yeah, he's leaving you. It hurts so much, doesn't it? Giving someone everything, only to be abandoned. What should I do? It hurts so much. Teh had no answer. When they stopped at another red light, he pulled his brother into a tight embrace, apologizing over and over until the impatient driver behind them honked. Hua still didn't know what he should do with the feelings buried so deeply inside him. All he knew was that the wound Jimmy had left behind was unbearably deep. Jimmy was a very good liar. If he never loved him, if he was only going to throw him away like rubbish, then why had he held him all night? Why had he looked at him with those changed eyes? Why? Or had Hua simply fooled himself into believing that when they embraced, when they became one, Jimmy had loved him too? Chapter 13. Don't think about someone too much. You might end up falling in love. The relationship between Jimmy and Teh had reached a critical point. Many people, mostly their classmates, had witnessed the two close friends arguing and even coming to blows. No one knew the real reason they had fallen out. But from the things they shouted at each other, most people assumed they were fighting over the same person. Jimmy had a reputation as a player, and Teh was no different. It wasn't surprising that the two of them might be interested in the same person. The only question now was, who was the one worth fighting over? Their conflict had spread throughout the faculty, and Plaifah couldn't help noticing how unhappy things had become lately. He had a feeling he might be the reason. That suspicion was confirmed when he went to find Teh at the faculty, only for the other man to turn around and walk away. Plaifah frowned in confusion. The tall man, wearing his usual untidy student uniform, sighed the moment he saw him before immediately turning his back and heading in another direction. From the steps outside the Faculty of Economics, Teh walked toward the auditorium. Classes had apparently just ended because students soon began streaming out of the building. Among them was Jimmy, his face marked with bruises and scrapes. Plaifah barely spared him a glance. Instead, he hurried after Teh, breaking into an awkward half-run. For the first time in his life, he felt like his legs were too short. He ran until he finally caught up and grabbed the untucked hem of Teh's shirt. Teh stopped automatically. He looked up at the sky before finally turning to face Plaifah after spending days avoiding him. Plaifah studied the bruises on his face. There was a cut at the corner of his mouth and bruising across one cheek, but thankfully nothing serious. Did you fight with Jim? Yeah, we fought. There was no point denying it. Everyone already knew. Teh swallowed as Plaifah continued staring at his injuries. They shouldn't be standing here talking. He had promised Jimmy that he would stay away from Plaifah. For Huatu's sake. It wasn't fair. Jimmy wasn't even anything to Plaifah. He just wanted to win. Was it because of Fa? Partly. Not entirely. Can you tell me? Should I go talk to Jim? Can you just leave me alone for now? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Since childhood, Teh had always done whatever he wanted. If he wanted something, he went after it. If he had something to say, he said it honestly. Lying had never come naturally to him. That was why saying those words to Plaifah Hurt so much. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed Jimmy approaching. Without another word, Teh turned away. Smack. Pain spread across his back. Plaifah had hit him with his bag. What do you think Fah is to you? Teh turned his head, but said nothing. You told me you might like me. We even talked about trying to date. And now you're saying you don't want to talk to me anymore? You seriously think that's okay? Yeah. If it helps you understand. Then no. I don't like you. Damn it. This is so frustrating. Plaifah bent down to pick up the bag he'd thrown. His face was bright red, and he was breathing heavily with anger. Before he had even slung the bag over his shoulder properly, he turned and stormed away. As he passed Jimmy, he shot him a fierce glare. Jimmy's handsome face was bruised as well, especially around one temple. Jimmy narrowed his eyes at Teh. His expression remained calm enough to hide whatever he was thinking. Teh, on the other hand, looked visibly uncomfortable. He clicked his tongue and looked away. I'm not bothering Fah anymore. From now on, we probably won't even talk. That's your business. Jimmy slipped one hand into his pocket and started walking past him. But Teh grabbed his shoulder. Noticing people nearby gathering to watch, Jimmy frowned. Don't start anything. I don't want to fight. Don't you dare show your face to my brother again. Jimmy brushed Teh's hand away. A cold smile curled across his lips. Your brother misses me so much he can hardly stand it. That's why you're so angry. So, what did you tell PTO? That I liked Fa? That everything between us is just a game? I didn't tell him anything. Because Hwada had already heard everything directly from Jimmy. You didn't. PTO probably thinks I'm angry because he's dating you. Exactly the way you wanted him to think. Teh stepped back. Jimmy's smile widened. Then you'd better keep an eye on PTO. Because even if I don't go looking for him, I can't promise he won't come back to me himself. I haven't even broken up with him yet. Your brother's pretty innocent. You're awfully confident. Teh bit his lip. PTO isn't as foolish as you think. I'll be watching. Shaking his head in frustration, he finally turned and walked away. Jimmy made no attempt to stop him. When would this ridiculous situation finally end? So, what exactly were you two fighting about? Yeah, I've been wondering too. You two aren't even speaking anymore. Whenever Jim shows up, Teh disappears. Whenever Teh's around, Jim doesn't come. Our group's basically split now. I don't want to talk to someone like him. Teh lifted his beer and took a long drink. His friends had dragged him out tonight after weeks of staying home. Ever since the fight with Jimmy turned physical, he hadn't gone out drinking. You both keep saying the same thing. He says he doesn't want to talk to you either. You dragged me out just to interrogate me? I'll stop asking after this. One last question. Is it true you both like the same person? Teh fell silent. Then he looked directly at the one asking. Probably. Who is it? Who could make both you and Jim fight like this? My brother. Huh. I'm protective of my brother. That's why I interfere with Jim. That's all. Now stop asking. If you're here to eat, then eat. Let's talk about something else. Everyone nodded. Someone refilled Teh's empty beer glass. Once he'd answered the question everyone had been curious about, and made it clear he wouldn't say any more, the conversation quickly shifted to other topics. Teh didn't care whether he'd ruined the atmosphere. It didn't seem like he had anyway. His friends soon found something else to laugh about. Still, drinking didn't feel as enjoyable as it used to. Perhaps because his mind was occupied. Occupied by someone who kept appearing no matter how hard he tried to ignore him. Plaifah. Whenever he let his guard down, Fah's face would appear in his thoughts again, over and over, until it felt like he was losing his mind. Maybe this was the kind of feeling people described as wanting to die. But drinking himself unconscious wasn't solving anything. When had he started liking someone? When had he fallen in love? And why couldn't he simply love him? Was it because of Hwatu? Because of Jimmy? Or because Plaifah had entered his life at exactly the wrong time? Hey Teh, there's a total beauty here tonight. So pale he practically glows. Huh. Teh snapped out of his thoughts. His friend kept poking his arm and pointing toward the entrance. Following the gesture, Teh looked over. A beauty. White enough to glow. Plaifah from the film department. I'd be grateful just to get one night with him. Those legs alone are enough to make me weak. You guys are disgusting. Teh scolded them. His words only earned loud laughter. Plaifah had just entered the crowded bar. Yet somehow, he stood out immediately. Maybe because he really was beautiful. Maybe because his skin was almost dazzlingly fair. The famous top student from film. But he's incredibly picky. Huh. Teh's eyes stayed on Plaifah, but his attention shifted to the conversation around him. It's Plaifah. Haven't you heard? People don't choose Fa. Fa chooses them. Every guy or girl he dates is top tier. I want to see Plaifah's boyfriend almost as much as I want to see T's. What does that have to do with me? Teh reached for another bottle of beer while searching the table for something to snack on. Well, you two seem like the same type. Neither of you takes relationships seriously. You both just do whatever you want. And people like that, can they fall for each other? What do you mean, Teh? Nothing. I'm going outside for a smoke. He set the bottle back down and quietly slipped out of the bar. The noise and crowd made it hard to breathe. The empty parking lot felt much better. Whenever he drank heavily, Teh usually smoked. Nicotine helped clear his head. He had barely lit his cigarette before irritation replaced his brief moment of peace. Someone else's raised voices shattered the silence. He flicked the half-finished cigarette to the ground, crushed it beneath his shoe, and looked toward the commotion. Why did you drag Fa out here? I want to talk. Talk about what? Come with me tonight. I'm sorry. I'm not in the mood. Why are you refusing? This is harassment. That voice. It sounded painfully familiar. And so did the habit of referring to himself as Fa. Teh walked closer. As expected, a drunken man had dragged Plaifah outside. Annoyed, Teh folded his arms and watched. Because I want you. Is that supposed to convince someone to sleep with you? What a joke. Plaifah spotted him immediately. The annoyance he'd been directing at the drunk man shifted toward Teh instead. Their last conversation had ended badly. And now? It wasn't any better. I only just got here, and I already got dragged outside. Do you think that's impressive? You came here because you wanted someone to take you home, didn't you? Teh shifted his attention from Plaifah to the drunken idiot. No wonder Fa wasn't interested. If you wanted someone to go home with you, maybe being gentle would work better. Had Teh ever been gentle with Plaifah? Not really, because Fa had always been the one making the first move. Not with you. I don't want you. Wow. Teh almost laughed. Plaifah turned and started walking back toward the bar. But the drunk man grabbed his arm again, yanking him hard enough that he nearly stumbled. Before Teh even realized what he was doing, his leg was already moving. His kick landed cleanly. In an instant, he went from spectator to participant. Who the hell are you? Someone watching you harass someone who already said no. You kept pushing, then you used force. That's assault. Teh crouched beside the man he'd just kicked. The bruises Jimmy had left on his face only made him look more intimidating. The drunken man climbed to his feet, dusted himself off, and quietly retreated back inside without another word. Teh stood and looked toward Plaifah. Fa was already walking toward the street. Where are you going? Home. You're not going back inside? No. I've had enough today. Because of that idiot? I've been fed up ever since I saw your face. But, thanks for helping. Those words hit surprisingly hard. Normally, Plaifah wasn't someone who got angry easily. But every time he looked at Teh, his chest tightened. Someone who said one thing and did another. Someone as unpredictable as Teh. He hated people like that. Yet somehow, no matter how much he disliked T's actions, he couldn't stop thinking about him. The more he thought, the more questions filled his mind. It was unbelievably frustrating. Once they were far enough from the parking lot, Plaifah stopped walking. He turned around. Teh was still standing where he'd been. Hey, I have something I want to ask. He practically shouted. Not wanting him to strain his voice, Teh walked over instead. Soon they stood face to face beneath the glow of the streetlights. The flickering light made it impossible to read each other's expressions clearly. What is it? This has been bothering me. What exactly am I to you? I don't understand. Normally, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. Actually, I never care. But you went too far. You told me you liked me. You treated me differently from everyone else. You made me think. Maybe I could actually try taking someone seriously. Then a few days later, you tell me not to bother you anymore. You say you don't like me. Why tell me you like me if you don't? First you like me, then you don't. Are you crazy, Teh? I hate liars. Every word struck him. Plaifah's face was flushed bright red. He was genuinely furious. But one phrase echoed louder than the rest. Try taking someone seriously. Had Fa really meant him? You're not going to say anything? Plaifah laughed bitterly. Look at me. I'm standing here yelling like an idiot all by myself. That's even more infuriating. He rubbed both hands over his face before turning toward the road and flagging down a taxi. One pulled over. He opened the door and got inside immediately. He wanted to escape. Fast. Now Teh had to decide. Should he chase after someone who might be the one? Or let everything end here? His thoughts were a complete mess. But one thing was certain. He didn't want to let Plaifah disappear. Teh reached out, pulled the taxi door open, and climbed inside beside him. We're all here now. You can go, uncle. His own car was still sitting in the bar's parking lot. He ignored it completely. What was love? Doing things you never thought you would. Or throwing everything else away just to stay close to someone. Forget Huatu. Forget Jimmy. Forget all of it. What are you doing, Teh? Why are you following me? You're the right person. You just came into my life at the wrong time, Fa. I like you. I really like you. Forget the timing. Forget everyone else. Even if you never like me back, can I still like you? Plaifah stared at him. The sincerity in Teh's eyes left him speechless. Then he noticed the taxi driver secretly watching them through the rearview mirror. Pressing his lips together, he shoved Teh's handsome face away with one hand. Get away from me. Did this idiot think he liked over-the-top romantic scenes? Why was he making such a spectacle of himself? He had never experienced love. He didn't particularly want to understand it either. But if someone asked whether Teh's earnest confession made him happy, well, maybe. Just a little.